Right. We are live from the BDA headquarters. Hope you're all having a fantastic Saturday. I'm being joined right now by the usual suspect, Split D. We're gonna have to talk a lot here. There's a lot of boxing. King Butcher's gonna be joining us later. Hopefully other people as well. And until then, like I said, a lot to talk about. Split, thanks for joining us. How are you, man?
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, like always. Like I said, like I always say, you guys make the show. At this point, you know, there's a lot going here, a lot going on today. Kudryashov, I don't know, I think he's about to fight maybe in an hour.
Yep.
So is Fury against Parker. And then later tonight we have Jorge Linares against Campbell. Should be another good fight. And yesterday we had Oscar Valdez and Zurdo Ramirez taking on very tough test. Split, were you able to catch that fight?
Actually, no. I have to watch that later tonight after the Linares fight. I was out with the family, so I know what the outcomes were. I saw that on Twitter, but I haven't been able to sit down and watch it yet.
All right. Yeah, there were good fights, man. Well, before we get to that, I just want to remind people, if you want to join us via Google Hangouts, you can do so by sending us an email or a message through the email address that's on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Give us a message. We'll invite you via Google Hangouts, and you can tell us, give us your opinion on everything related to boxing, and even things that aren't related to boxing, as long as they're interesting. Okay, yeah. So about the fights, Split. There were good fights, man. Gilberto Ramirez, top rank, I think, is desperately trying to make this guy into a superstar. Maybe the next Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. That would be setting the bar too high, but it's still, they want to make money off of him. Same thing with Oscar Valdez. They want to make him into a superstar, but let me tell you, they had tough tests. Ramirez took on Jarrett Hurd, who is undefeated. He started off well. Ramirez dropped Hurd, and in the fourth round he unleashed a hellacious body attack. And then Jarrett Hurd came back, and Ramirez was never able to inflict the dominance that he had shown in the previous rounds. When you watch the fight, you'll see it, and then you tell me what you think. As for Oscar Valdez, he took on Genesis Cerveriana, or I forget his name, but a Filipino fighter, undefeated as well. Very tough. And Valdez got dropped, I believe, in the third or second round. Then he came back and dropped the Filipino in the fourth. And after that, it was just a back and forth battle, man. But really tough test. I mean, I'm curious, what's your impression of both Ramirez and Valdez so far?
I think Ramirez, every time I've seen that guy fight, I've never been overly impressed with him. I think he's good, solid guy, but I don't think he's going to be the superstar that they want him to be. Even if he was a great boxer, I don't know. I just don't see him kind of transcending the sport the way some guys do. I think Valdez has a better shot at that. But I think it's too early to tell for either guy, really.
Yeah. Well, actually, you say it's too late, but I kind of disagree there, man, because at this point, Valdez, I don't know how old he is, but I believe he's somewhere in his early 20s. Same thing with Ramirez. But from what they've shown me right now, they're not exactly... They don't show that the traits that demonstrate that they're going to be dominant later on in their careers. Right.
Well, especially if they're going... I know that they were good fights last night. I saw Twitter going nuts over everything, but, if you're really the next guy or the next big thing in the sport, like, you and I have been watching boxing a long time. Right. You see it long before they ever get to the place where Ramirez and Valdez are at right now. And I know they're both young, especially Valdez. But when they fight that level of competition they were fighting last night, they take care of business. It's usually not a difficult contest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true so far. But okay, I'll start with Ramirez. he's not active enough. Like, he doesn't let his hands
Right.
go enough. And other than that, like, he's not that, he doesn't mix it up, the offense as much. The fourth round, I said, whoa, he impressed me in the fourth round because he was going to the body. But then after that, he sort of fell into a pattern. And I know it's not hard. I mean, I know it's hard to think while you're during the action, especially against a tough Philadelphian like Jared Hurd. But I don't, if he's having trouble with Jared Hurd, how's he gonna handle the other elite super middleweights? Then again,
Right.
I mean, you tell me, how do you see the super middleweight landscape? I mean, do you see it wide open for a guy like Ramirez to get some business done in there?
Well, I think, like I said, it is not to disparage or discredit Ramirez in any way, but I mean, I think the division right now is kind of weak. The landscape's not real strong, so I mean, which is kind of good for fans because then we get more competitive fights, But I think it's open for a guy like Ramirez right now to kind of, maybe pick up a couple of titles, maybe even three, And I know politics will get in the way of that, but I think if the division was what it was, 5-7 years ago, I don't think he would be very competitive or as competitive as he will be now.
Well, that's the thing, because I mean, I'm gonna go ahead right now on Ring TV. I'm gonna take a look at the 168-pound ratings. Off the top of my head, I know George Groves could get some business done there. Who else? DeGale is still there. Okay, why am I going? Okay, yeah, DeGale. Who else? Let me see. Okay, so we got, according to the Ring ratings, James DeGale is number 1. Gilberto Ramirez number 2. I don't know how that happened. George Groves number 3. Callum Smith number 4. Andrew Durrell. Both Durrells are 5 and 6 respectively. Andre and Anthony. Chris Eubank Jr., David Benavides, Tyrone Zook, who I've never seen fight, and Jesse Hart, who I don't know if he's gonna remain in the top 10 after last night's fight. Although, like I said, was that?
Oh no, I said right.
Right. It's I don't know if he's gonna stay there. Now, Split, do you favor Ramirez over any of the guys I just mentioned?
I think he might be a notch above a lot of those guys. But that when you said the Durrell brothers are 5 and 6 respectively,
right? If
those guys are halfway up the list, at the top of the division, that tells you everything you need to know about the quality in that division at the moment. It's very mediocre. It's very soft. Like I said, it's not like it was during the Super Six or right after.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the better fights for Ramirez would be Benavides. I would love to see that fight.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that probably won't happen, but that's probably one of the better fights. I think Ramirez probably beats both Durrells, especially Anthony. And then Andre's slowing down because Uzcata guy gave him all he could handle in their fight. So yeah, I think Ramirez at least holds his own with the entire division, and probably is a small notch above most of those guys.
Yeah, I would agree there. The division is paper thin. I mean, it's respectable, but I think it's because what happens is this: compared to, like you said, the Calzaghe era, or even the Super Six era, it does look mediocre, and I do agree that it is mediocre. Some good fighters in there, but nobody that really stands out as a guy that's gonna have a lot of longevity on the top, at the top of the throne there. Benavides, did you see his last fight against what was his name again? Fuck.
Oh, I forgot, but I did see the fight.
Yeah, and what was your impression of Benavides there?
I thought it was a really bad showing for the guy. I don't know that he's going to be a great fighter at any point. He's got some issues that I think we all see, but I think the guy's really strong. He can punch a bit, and he's got a nice skill set. But his last outing I thought was kind of crappy. I don't know what that was all about or why, but it just didn't look good.
Yeah, he I think I talked about this the day after the fight, but he started out very relaxed, So much so that I said, "Ooh, this guy is this guy's confident, man, because he's loose. He's not trying that hard. He's probably saving some energy for the middle rounds, and he just stayed that way for the whole fight, man. And the guy he fought, I had forgotten his name, but I just looked it up. It's Ronald Gavril, who I believe is with Mayweather.
Oh, okay.
I believe he's with Mayweather Promotions, and again, I can't stress it enough. Conditioning made the difference in that fight. Benavidez looked like I said in the beginning, he was relaxed, and I thought it was because he was confident. But I think it turns out is that he didn't have that much confidence in his conditioning. I mean, the guy was throwing flurries every once in a while, and meanwhile, Gavril was throwing lighter punches, but still being more active.
Right. I don't know. I think we've seen Benavidez perform much better in fights, preceding that last one. And again, I don't know what his deal was. A couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago when he fought. Right. But it did. I just thought he looked really bad, especially after the opening rounds.
Yeah, it was. Some people could say, well, maybe he was sick. I mean, as far as I knew, he hasn't made any excuses, or maybe I didn't read him, but he looked good against Porky Medina, and then one fight later, he's looking mediocre. Doesn't look too good for him, man. Other than that, we have Chris Eubank Jr., who's gonna be in the super middleweight tournament. Now the Durrell brothers, they're really, to me, the dark horses in the division, because these guys are so talented physically. But what?
I think Andre's much more talented than Anthony.
Oh yeah.
Anthony hits a little bit harder, but he's really sloppy, and he jumps in and grabs and holds. He's like a poor man's Bernard Hopkins.
That's actually an insult to Bernard Hopkins, man.
Well, yeah, and I know that B-Hop's was an amazing fighter, but he reminds me of that. B-Hop could get the job done fighting kind of dirty like that and making it really ugly, right, whereas Anthony Durrell just jumps in, grabs, doesn't really throw anything on the way in, and then he smothers all of his own work. So it wasn't meant to really as an insult. It was just a kind of a comparison. My mind sees the same thing, just on two very different levels.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I'm just saying that none of these guys demonstrate the IQ that Hopkins had, especially later on in his career. Now, Andre Durrell, you know what I don't like about Andre Durrell?
What's that?
The guy, he's like a 168-pound version of Zahir Rahim. Remember that guy? You remember Zahir Rahim?
I remember the name.
He was the one that beat Eric Morales back in 2005. He had very good hand speed. He was an Olympian, very athletic, but the guy would slip and fall during every fight. He fought Acelino Freitas in one of the worst fights that I've ever seen. A lot of clinching, a lot of slipping to the ground. He would have one good fight here, then a bad one there, and that's what Andre Durrell reminds me of, which is a shame, because the guy has the perfect mix of speed and power, but he just, his issues are.
But with Andre Durrell, it's. I mean, the skill is definitely there, but what makes him kind of a mediocre fighter is he always moves backwards and he doesn't always throw. He's kind of like Canelo without the offense and without the power.
Yeah. Actually, he's like Canelo, but Canelo that moves non-stop, especially against dangerous fighters.
Right. Durrell just I don't like either of the Durrell brothers. They drive me nuts.
Yeah, and especially after
either.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, especially after the antics of their uncle. After the Durrell versus, I mean, come on, that was.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't hold Andre Durrell responsible for the actions of his uncle. I mean, his uncle's a grown man, and he should have known better than to do something really fucking dumb like that. But but
it doesn't help.
He did defend him after the fight, so I get where you're coming from. But going all the way back to the Super 6. I've never been a fan of Durrell or in boxers that utilize that style. don't have a lot of power, move way too much.
Uh-huh.
They just drive me nuts.
Yeah, and what happened with Andre Dirrell after the Super 6? Because he said he had an injury, a brain injury or head injury or something like that after Abraham hit him when he was down, but they never produced, his management never produced any documentation proving that he had any injury. I mean, what the hell was that all about?
I couldn't tell you. I remember watching Fight Camp 360, the Showtime documentary for that tournament, and I remember when they interviewed Dirrell and his team and his family, and they were just kind of evasive. They dodged questions and didn't really give an answer. So I don't know. I mean, there's really no evidence to say that he wasn't hurt or that he was. They never, like you said, they never produced anything. Abraham hit him with that shot when he was down. The shot, to me, even when I watch it, I've watched it maybe a year or two ago on YouTube. It was a bad shot. He should have been disqualified for it, but it didn't look to me like it was that kind of shot that leaves a guy brain damaged or ends a career. But like a lot of guys say, I'm not the one taking the punches, so I really don't know.
Yeah, but you're right about that. But then again, the fact that he didn't show any documentation, and then he just disappeared for. I mean, I don't know, man.
Something is wrong here.
Something is wrong here. I mean, something doesn't add up. And I remember hearing the theory. The theory was that he didn't want to fight Andre Ward because they were friends.
Right.
But I gotta believe that maybe he didn't want to fight Andre Ward because he was scared of him.
Well, it was one of those things. God, that tournament was just such a clusterfuck. I love those tournaments. I think they're good for boxing, but man, that one it was just like left in shambles. Guys wouldn't fight each other. Guys wouldn't travel. They couldn't, come to terms for fights, and I thought it was a really sloppy tournament. But with regards to Dirrell, I got the impression that you're right. It was him. For a while, I thought maybe it was Ward that didn't want to fight Dirrell, but watching the documentary, and listening to Ward, which is kind of funny in hindsight, I remember him saying, well, we're locked into a contract. I just can't walk away from this thing or not fight somebody. That's not me. That's not my style. And then that kind of shaky interview with Dirrell and his team and family. And, my mind told me after watching those things that maybe it was Dirrell, but I mean, who the hell knows? It's, nothing ever comes out that definitively says it's one way or the other. But I just, based on what I've seen since that time, I would definitely say, I kind of lean towards Dirrell being the problem in those areas.
Yeah, Adrian Broner's nickname is a problem, but I think that should belong to Andre Dirrell because his career has been nothing but problems.
Or what was it yesterday? Tank Davis got into some problems, or had some problem with domestic violence or something like that.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah. Gervonta Davis and somebody on Twitter said, they should re-nickname him the problem. So
yeah.
I don't know what it is with these guys. They can't get out of their own fucking way, despite them having success.
Yeah, well, they're young, man. They can't handle that success.
Yeah, well, that too. You have to what? Well, I get it with Davis. He's what, early 20s.
Yeah,
but like Broner has no. Broner's a grown ass man. You know what I mean? He has no excuse for that shit.
It's this guy for I hate to say it, but there's a reason why they punch for a living and get punched for a living. They're not exactly boxers aren't exactly the most self-controlled people in the world. You know what I mean?
Right. I think it was Steve Kim on his podcast said the best boxers he's ever seen or heard of have all been angry, paranoid, had something wrong with them, or had a horrible life. And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, they're a little bit mental, man. A little bit mental.
Yeah, well, you have to be to get punched in the face, for a living.
Exactly, and I mean, I don't know. Tank Davis, he's a volatile case because, like you said, he's been having these issues outside of the ring. His relationship with his own promoter seems shaky at best, depending on the day. And the worst thing about it is he doesn't even look all that good inside the ring, which is what counts the most.
Well, I like what I've seen from Davis so far, but there's been moments where I thought where he's done things or hasn't done things that's made me think, well, maybe this guy isn't what some people think he's going to be. You know.
What do you think? Do you think he's gonna be poised to be another Andre Dirrell or Adrian Broner, or?
Well, if he stays with his current promoter and keeps running with the same crew he's running with, I think he'll probably be more like a Andre Dirrell or somebody along those lines where there's some talent there, but it never really develops or comes to the surface just because of the people he associates with. You know what I mean? Because those kinds of people can shit on your life. It can really help keep you down.
Yeah, man, it's who you hang out with, and a lot of these guys, like you said, they hang out with. I don't know, they always say never judge a book by its cover, but when the cover of the book looks like it's gonna hold up a liquor store, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's
right. No, exactly. Yeah, you said it best. I mean.
Oh, I did say.
I want to give everyone a fair shake when especially when it's like this, when we're talking about people we'll never know or never really meet, But I mean, their actions speak louder than anything else. The shit they do outside of the ring affects how they perform inside of the ring. I mean, with Broner's the best modern example of that I can probably give anybody. He's got talent, but it hasn't really been nourished or developed because the guy's a fuck up outside of the boxing ring, and he doesn't take care of himself in between fights. So the performances he gives shouldn't really ever surprise anybody.
Well, let me tell you about Adrian Broner, man. His career is considered a disappointment compared to how high the bar was set when he started. I remember a couple of years ago when Ring Magazine had him at number, I believe, 5 or 6 pound for pound.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was an exaggeration of his worth. If you look at it now, try to separate his career from the expectations that he had as the next Mayweather. It's not a bad career at all if you think about it.
No, he's done. I mean, he's done okay. I think he's benefited from being part of Al Heyman's stable. There's a lot of benefit to, as far as fighters go, to being part of that crew, but. After he moved up in weight, his power didn't seem to carry. He started, and there's a lot of reports that that say or show he doesn't take care of himself in between fights. Right. I saw those pictures that were on Twitter and on Facebook of him eating nachos and hot dogs and shit like that when he was supposed to be in training camp or right after he had supposedly entered it. And what else can I say? If you live like that, those are the results you're going to get. He's done okay in boxing. I think he definitely would not have been the next Floyd Mayweather by any stretch of the imagination. But I think he would have been a much better fighter and probably would have done a little bit better, had he been around the right people and had the right promoter, and had people to help him, keep his life clean outside of the ring. Because like I said before, that shit's all over your career.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. I mean, you nailed it right there. It's a combination of outside the ring issues and lack of discipline, and because
right.
he did have.
Well,
talent.
I mean, I'm sorry. When you look at someone like both the Klitschko brothers, I mean, those guys, they still go to the gym, and they're both old men now, and they're both retired. They live to be healthy, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that reflected, and that's why they had the careers that they did. They both did because they took care of themselves even in between fights or when there was lulls in activity.
Well, before we continue, I just want to remind people this is Mr. BDA hanging out with Split Decision, the usual suspect. We're talking boxing. If you want to join us, send us a message via the email address that's the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, boxingdebate@hotmail.com. Send us a message and we will invite you to the hangout. By the way, the rest of the other guys, Victor Atkinson, Reverse Lee, Hassan, I don't know what the hell you're doing, man, guys, but if you want to join us, go right on ahead. Just, send us...
It's Saturday. Where are these guys?
Well, I told them well, King Butcher told me apparently that he had a conversation with them and that they were all set to go today. Maybe I should have sent them the link either way, but no, just send me a message and I'll patch you through, man. Now I want to go back to something you said, Split, about the Klitschko brothers staying in shape. That's one of the things that I've always resented about a lot of these professional boxers, is that they have an off season. You know, they fight, and after once the fight is done, it's like, oh, I can let myself go. And like you said, that's when the hot dogs come in, and the nachos, and the beer, and the strippers, and they gain 20 to 30 pounds. And by the time they get back to the gym, it's not about it's conditioning or setting up a game plan. No, it's about just shedding those pounds, and the body can't do that all the time, especially when they hit their 30s. You know, they're early 30s.
No, it's the truth, man. And, you know, I mean, look at Hopkins. We go back to Hopkins again for a minute.
Yes.
I mean, the guy still lives clean and he doesn't fight anymore. You know, and that's what allowed him to continue into his 40s and even his 50s and perform the way he did. You know, I mean, it really doesn't matter whether you're a boxer or, like me, you're a writer for a living, or you work in PR, or, you know, if you don't constantly practice your craft, your skills are going to turn to shit.
Exactly.
You know, I've been playing. I'm a musician too. I've been playing guitar for almost 33 years, and you know, if I go weeks and weeks without playing, my hand gets weak. You know, my calluses disappear, and I don't have to start from scratch, but I spend the next month kind of, you know, regrowing everything, getting back to where I was at. So you have to constantly do what you're good at to keep the tools sharp, or to keep the knives sharp. Otherwise, it just goes to crap.
Absolutely. If you're a serial killer, you got to keep those knives sharp. By the way, I wanted to ask you, what type of guitar playing do you do? Blues, rock, what?
Well, metal mostly.
Oh,
metal and hard rock, man.
Satanic black metal, or?
No. Like I'm influenced by like Alice in Chains, Black Sabbath, Kiss, you know, stuff like that.
Okay, that's cool. That
shows my age.
No, it's still a popular genre, you know, amongst the youth. I know a couple of guys my age, you know, that's all they play on the guitar.
Yeah, it's basically like heavy rock is what I do.
All right, cool. How many? You got a lot of guitars at home, or just one?
I've got 3 Les Pauls, and I've got a bass, and then I've got an acoustic guitar as well that I fart around with every so often.
Okay, so you're not fucking around then. You're actually into it.
Oh yeah, I don't fuck around. I'm like a professional amateur musician. Like, I take it really. It's as big a part of my life as is boxing.
Oh,
it's just as important to me. So yeah, they're both huge.
Wow, that's great, man. Let's see if we can get you to compose an intro for the BDA website, man.
I could totally do that, man.
Well, wait a minute. How do you get like, you play with a band, or like you got a drum or something?
Dude, the only thing, the hardest part about being a musician is not keeping a band together. Like a lot of those guys say, it's finding people to play with, because I kind of, when I get into something, I do it like at nerd type levels. I get really into it, like hyper focused. Right. So finding people to play with that are not only play as well as I do, but or like the same kind of music that I do, it's finding people with the same level of commitment. Kind of like, you know, finding other people to watch fights with. You know, like last week with the Golovkin fight, I was in a theater full of casual people, so it's kind of the same thing. I don't mind playing with casual musicians and, you know, doing that kind of thing, but finding people that are as committed as I am to either music or the sport of boxing is near fucking impossible.
Yeah, especially if these guys just want to, you know, get together to do a little session every 2 weeks. I mean, it does, like you said, it doesn't work that way. You gotta work at it every day.
Well, yeah, I'm one of those guys that plays. I put in 2 or 3 hours of practice every day before I start messing around or writing or recording. And most guys that I meet, you know, and girls too, I'll just play before rehearsal, or I'll just, you know, they don't do their homework. They don't ever pick their instruments up. They just, you know, until it's actually time to go into the studio or time to hit the stage. And it's like, you know, even if they play well enough to get by, it's still, you never form that, you never become that cohesive unit and have that camaraderie as a band. Or like even with boxing fans, you have your circle of friends, you know, like we do on Twitter. That's my boxing family, because my real family doesn't give a shit about music or boxing. So like I have to go online to find that.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
Wait, hold on a second. Sorry, that was no, it does, man. Because like, for example, I get exactly what you're saying. You know, you want to talk here where I live. If I want to talk boxing, some people know, like for example, Mayweather McGregor, that got a lot of hype, right? People want to talk about that. But if you want to talk about, let's say, the fights from last night, or even just Linares versus Campbell for tonight, most people don't know who the fuck these guys are. So it is frustrating that you can't find people to talk with. But that's the beauty of the internet. Like, without the internet, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Well, yeah. Well, I've told the story a million times, even on your show. And you know, I grew up with boxing. My grandfather, my two uncles, and my dad were all pretty big boxing guys. Even before I, you know, got into the sport, I was always there when they were watching, and they had, I don't know, once they were out of the picture, I grew up and moved away and started my own, like, adult life. Like, I didn't, you know, even at work, I don't know, you know, I didn't know any boxing guys. So before social media, it was just kind of like, I had to, you know, I talked to people, but you know, they would just be polite and listen and or ask questions, you know, the way casual people do. And you know, now it's totally different. And it, you know, somebody like me, I'm very fortunate to have the internet and social media, because that's the only way, you know, I can talk to other boxing fans, because I don't have any in real life, you know, in my own personal life.
Right. No, I absolutely get what you're saying, man. Do you ever get that when you're talking boxing to somebody, you're explaining boxing, and then they start nodding, and they slowly walk away while you're talking?
Yeah. Oh, or they start talking to somebody else all the time, man. Speaking of which, I wanted to bring this up too today on the show. I was at the gym playing racquetball this morning, and one of the guys, Mexican guy, huge Canelo fan, but a casual boxing fan, said, "Hey, what did you think about the fight last weekend?" Because I hadn't seen him in about a week, and I told him what I thought, and I said, "Well, what did you think?" And he was like, "Man, he couldn't even remember Golovkin's name. That's the kind of, you know, viewer he is." And he says that Russian guy totally wiped the floor with Canelo. He goes, "I don't know what the fuck those judges were smoking," and you know, it's just one of those things. It's still, even a week later, there's still people, you know, out and about talking about it, or that come to me and go, you know, "I can't believe that." And most of them are Canelo fans, so, you know, that shit's still rolling around.
That Russian.
Yeah. Well, he says that Russian guy. I said, "Oh, Triple G." Yeah, the Russian guy. So he's not really Russian, you know.
that Russian against that Irish guy. That was a great fight, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
you better get your head and your ass wired together. You better get your head and your ass wired together, or I will take a giant shit on you.
But hey, you know what? Boxing, it's a niche sport. It's still a niche sport. I talked about that last week when we were talking about the aftermath of the Canelo Triple G fight, and how, you know, Stephen A. Smith seems to be the new self-proclaimed boxing expert. I gotta tell you, man, a couple of years ago, this guy wouldn't touch boxing unless it involved Mayweather or Pacquiao, and all of a sudden he's going around telling people his opinion as if it's worth something. I mean, listen, everyone's opinion is worth something, but we gotta realize that he's not a boxing expert. Would you agree that nowadays these guys are trying to embark on the boxing bandwagon, sort of like to appear as they're like a jack of all trades when it comes to sports?
Yeah, I think so. I think because of the year that boxing's having, kind of like a resurgent year. You know, we've had so many great things happen in 2017. I think, and especially even with the Top Rank deal over at ESPN, I think networks like ESPN, guys like Espinoza or Stephen A. Smith, not Espinoza, they kind of, I mean, they're products of whatever network they work for, but like watching the Teddy Atlas, you know, meltdown after the fight last weekend. Stephen A. Smith, like, whether you love Teddy Atlas or you can't stand him, like, I thought I was with the guy on his, you know, corruption thing,
right?
But he took it to Stephen A. Smith. I mean, Smith talked. like he had been watching boxing as long as you and I have, or that he had like some breadth of knowledge that somebody like Atlas has, no matter what you think of him. But it was clear, that he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. You know what I mean? And when Teddy Atlas is the voice of reason, on the show you're on, that's there's a problem there.
That's a big problem.
Or comes across as the good guy or the protagonist, that's an issue. And it should be for fans because, like you said, it's a bandwagon effect. When something gets popular, these networks, because they're for-profit businesses, are going to grab onto it and try to, to leech everything they can off of it. While the getting's good, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
there's that. I think we'll see a lot more of that as long as boxing continues to do what it's doing this year.
You hit the nail right on the head, man. When Teddy Atlas looks like the sane, balanced, that's a problem right there, man.
Fuck me up. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that?
Who was it? I forgot. Who was it last week that said that Teddy Atlas, the thing that's most disturbing about him is the way he shakes when he talks, like he's having a heart attack or something.
Oh no! You know what's funny is I write a lot differently than I speak because I think differently when I'm doing my work. But I'm a lot like, and that's probably one of the reasons I like Teddy so much, even though he's completely nuts most of the time. I had the same reaction when the fight ended last week. I was fucking pissed. I drove home and went live on Periscope, and I still have the video up on my timeline. And I was just fucking irate. I was shaking the whole way home. I was so pissed off. And a lot of people say, "Oh, because Triple G didn't get the decision." No, the winner for me, it wasn't that my guy didn't win. It was that the guy that actually won the fight, that opportunity and all the things that come after that kind of win were taken from him. He was robbed.
Yeah.
So my first loyalty is to the sport, not to any fighter. Even if I have somebody I'm rooting for, my loyalty is to the sport first and fighters second. So, I was just pissed. So when I went home and saw Teddy erupting online, like, that was the best part of the night for me. Like, it was just like, oh man, somebody else is reacting like me. I don't feel like a complete fucking nut job because I was so emotional and so upset when from the moment the first scorecard was read, I just fucking lost it, man.
As well you should have. I mean, it was it was really, it's interesting. I remember it was Victor Atkinson who said that the fact that one of the judges scored the 7th round for Canelo was to distract people. I mean, sorry, the Adelaide Byrd score was to distract people from the fact that one of the judges gave Canelo the 7th round. You can tell that everything was stacked against Golovkin from the beginning, and people, a lot of people predicted that.
Well, I mean, if you've been watching boxing, like at even half the intensity someone like you or I does, even for a short amount of time, 6 months or a year, that kind of thing happens. You see it happen a lot,
right?
Even on low level like Friday night fights and stuff like that, or at local casino fights, it happens all the time. I won't go into I won't go on a rant about corruption or anything. I already did that last week, enough to last a lifetime. But there's a lot of money in boxing, and there's a lot of powerful people tied to boxing. And when you have those two things, working together in a sport that has nobody policing it, that's what you get. It's part of the sport.
Absolutely, man. But one of the things that does bother me is when people start saying afterwards, like, "Oh, this is boxing is a corrupt sport. This is what boxing always does. It's a black eye for boxing." I don't really see it that way. I mean, it's not good PR for boxing, but if you think about it, it's not really boxing's fault here. It's a black eye for the judges and the state of Nevada, that especially that Bob Bennett motherfucker who refused to accept or even commit himself to punishing Adelaide Byrd. That's where the real black eye is.
Well, and I know that a lot of the people that I respect, like in the industry that I kind of work to be like, don't really believe in corruption, or they won't use the word, or they say, "Oh, nobody's handing anybody money, or nobody's doing anybody any favors. It's just incompetence." Right. I disagree with them wholeheartedly on that. When someone like Bob Bennett when the boss stands up and says, "Oh, she had a bad night," or she's going to take a small break from just big fights, that tells me I mean, I'm 44 years old, and I know we're close in age. When you go to work and you fuck up like she did at that level, that's gross incompetence. I've never seen anybody not get fired for performing that way at their job. I've had to fire people, friends. I've had to fire friends for doing a job that shitty. You know, hey, you're out of here, dude. We can't have that in the office.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And Bob Bennett, that's grounds for immediate dismissal. And I'm a business owner, so I know what I'm talking. I've been a business owner for the better part of the last 11 or 12 years, so I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing. And I've been on the receiving end of that too, where when I was a really young guy, coming up, in my own life, at the beginning of my adult life, I fucked up at a cash register. It was like $20 short, and they either thought I stole it, or if you didn't steal it, you fucked up so bad you're out of here, dude. You know what I mean? So when, like you said, when Bob Bennett doesn't stand up, come right out and say, no, this woman fucked up. She we don't want anything. We don't want to be associated with her, or that's not what the that's not what the Nevada State Athletic Commission stands for, or what boxing is about. She's gone. That tells me that there's some kind of corruption going on, whether it's money, whether it's favors, whether it's promise of more work, something in a back room somewhere. I don't know, but there's something not okay with that. That's all wrong. When the boss won't take action, there's a problem. That's corruption.
Is the whole world gone crazy? Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
Yeah, like you said, listen, we've been through the ringer a couple of times here in boxing. We've seen a lot of corruption. That's why I wasn't all that angry or surprised when it happened. I just took it in stride, rolled with the punch. I mean, I did feel bad for Golovkin, but like you said, listen, when something like this happens and the Bob Bennett, the director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, refuses to put himself out there and say, yeah, we're going to do something about this. Like you said, it's corruption, plain and simple. There's no riddle here to solve. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Either that, right, or he's fucking Adelaide Byrd while Robert Byrd watches in the same room. Like, they have some sort of weird arrangement, but I doubt it. I think it's corruption.
That's kind of gross, man.
I know, but that's how Mr. BDA's mind works, man. It looks for every possibility out there. You know what?
I know what you mean. I don't even know what else to say. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I think I get more angry at it than you do. That's why I said earlier, I'm a lot like Teddy Atlas in that my passion for the sport runs really high. And even though I expect these things to happen, and and I'm sure they'll continue to happen, and I'm sure Adelaide Byrd will continue to work big fights at some point or go back to them. It never gets any less painful or frustrating or less like morose for me. It's always, it's especially on the stage it was last week. It's like people were, these big fights that happen once or twice a year. When the top guys get in the ring, it's everybody's watching, and then I have to explain to all the casual people, when they come and ask me at the store, at the gym, or when the people that work for me, it's, hey, what'd you think about the fighter? Oh, I'm never buying that shit again. I know Montero said it too. People blame boxing. Boxing's dead. Boxing sucks. Why? I'm never going to pay for that again. And I don't blame them. I'm going to continue to tune in because I've been part of the sport. I've been a spectator of the sport for almost 33 years. So, I'm not going anywhere unless, something horrible changes to where this happens in every fight. But, I don't blame these people. You know what I mean? They get excited. The sport says, here's the top two guys in this division. They're going to fight. All this hype builds up. The fight was very good. Not quite great, but very good. It delivered or exceeded my expectations. And then it has to, but then the whole thing is overshadowed by this controversy and this corruption, and then you've got the two camps. Oh, it's incompetence. No, it's corruption, going back and forth. And sadly, I don't think we talk enough, or nobody's talking enough about, the actual fight itself or the fighters themselves, because I thought both guys gave a really good account of themselves. My respect for for Canelo went way, way up, and the respect that I already had being, for Triple G being a fan of his, went even higher because I saw a guy in decline, not quite as good as he was a year or two ago, still beating one of the best fighters in the world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but we don't get to talk about that because somebody wants to make extra on the side, or somebody's playing a game of power behind the scenes. So it's unfortunate, but I know a lot of guys like you that I talk to are they brace themselves because they know it's coming, but I always get upset. I get really pissed off when it happens. Like and I hate to be kind of a downer, but when somebody you love is terminally ill, and they're going to pass, no matter how much you're prepared for it, when it actually happens, it still fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Nothing you can do prepares you for that. And it's kind of that way for me in boxing because I love the sport so much. Nothing I can tell myself, nothing anybody else can tell me ever makes me go, well, that's just boxing, we have to expect it. It's never okay. You know what I mean? It always sucks.
That's when a guy is a huge boxing fan, when he compares a bad decision to terminal illness in a loved one. That's really
sorry, man.
No, it's a good way of putting it, is that it doesn't do much to soften the blow. I mean, at least yeah, but me, I don't know, maybe I've grown too cynical that I expected and don't care that much anymore. I mean, it's a shame, but that's what boxing will do to some people. It'll grind their expectations down to a little nub where they don't really care.
Right. Well, no,
much.
and I'm a very cynical person too. I'm actually a pessimist, like just the way I view the world. But like, you've become desensitized to it,
yeah.
And I know you love the sport at least as much as I do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
But I for whatever reason, I've seen it hundreds of times over the last 30 or so years that I've been watching. But I never get used to it. It always pisses me off. It always upsets me. Even when it's the guy at the local club, getting a raw deal. I think it sucks.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely unfair, especially when it's especially when it's a guy like Golovkin who he didn't get anything handed to him. He didn't come. I mean, he came out of the Olympics with a silver medal, but he wasn't marketable in the beginning. He didn't speak English. He was basically rotting over in Germany, not doing anything. Finally, he comes here. He has to prove himself, fighting tough guys. Then nobody wants to fight him. None of the top guys want to fight him. He has to fight strong punchers like Lemieux and Stevens. He has to take on Daniel Jacobs. And then finally, he gets the fight he always wanted. And like always, as many expected, he gets the shaft. So it's
right.
The same old story, right? That the unfairness of life against the guy who had to work for it, and then he gets the boot. I mean, it's
right.
See, now that I'm talking,
what really pisses me off about it is that this isn't like other. I mean, everybody puts their lives on the line when they play a sport. There's always danger, to their health or to their lives. But boxers can be perfectly healthy and trained, have the best training camp of their lives, and can eat one punch and never take another breath again. Yeah. So these guys are putting everything on the line to feed their families and to entertain guys like us. And then when they do win a fight, it's taken from them. And I think that totally sucks,
Yeah, when they're entertaining degenerate scumbags like us, that's really No, but you're right, man. It's a particularly dangerous sport, and the fact that this has been going on since the inception of boxing, and very little has been done about it, just speaks volumes about how humongous this world is in the boxing and how hard it is to actually get something done about it.
Yeah, I don't think the sport, at least in my lifetime, is ever gonna get any better or change. Just the nature of it right now. I know it's changed in the 40s and the 50s. You had mafia influence in the sport. I'm sure that's still the case to some degree, probably a lesser degree than it used to be.
Right.
But now you don't have to fix fights the way they used to back then. Now you can just pay judges. You can influence referees. You don't have to have a guy take a dive anymore. But there's so much money involved in this sport And like I said, always follow the money. I always say that. Anytime something bad happens, follow the money, because there's always somebody, some rich asshole that wants a little bit more and wants to take a little bit more from you. So, I just don't see the way the environment in the sport is right now. I don't see change happening dramatically or even slowly anytime soon. There's just way too much power. All the promoters have all the power. There's nobody policing the sport, and there's nobody policing the people who police the sport. And I think you would need something along those lines to clean it up. I don't know that, like Teddy Atlas is always screaming about a national commission. I think that's kind of silly, because no other sport really has that.
Right.
And all sports have their controversy and their robberies and scandals and stuff like that. So boxing isn't in an exclusive club, but I certainly think it's worse than all the other sports probably combined when it comes to things like we saw last weekend, or promoters influencing or networks influencing, the kind of corruption that just seems to be oozing out of boxing, or always has been, and I think it always will, as long as it's it's a fractured, and it's kind of it's a closed environment. It's in its own little vacuum, and there's nobody to say, hey, you can't do that, you can't do that, or this is going to happen and that's not allowed to happen, and if you do that, you're in trouble. It's just kind of like the Wild West. It's just a free for all.
Very well said. It's the Wild West of modern sports,
yeah.
Man. And here's Split D. This is what Split D is doing.
Shut the fuck up!
Oh no, sorry, that's not. No, sorry. I always get it mixed up. Hold on. So. Oh yeah, this is you. This is what you're doing right now.
I give you facts. I give you facts.
You're giving us facts right now, man. And and here's, I will say this about corruption though. Let's extend a little empathy towards the UFC organization, because they have to share the same state athletic commissions that boxing is involved with, and they're having their share of bad decisions as well.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's the corruption and the scandals and things. It's not exclusive to our sport. I just think boxing's much worse than most other sports. But I know. What was it? Adelaide Byrd is also a UFC referee.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's been involved with some questionable scoring over there as well. So, that just, when somebody that incompetent is allowed to continue doing their job, and the boss just looks the other way, or says she has a bad night, or just remains silent on the issue, if it looks like shit and it smells like shit, well then it's probably shit. You know what I mean? There's no getting around that.
Yeah,
I know it's not popular for people to, nobody wants to talk about corruption or payoffs or influences or blackballing or, but that shit's real. It happens in all walks of life. I see it every day, not just in boxing, at schools, at jobs, in offices, and I know people that are involved in it, not in boxing, but just involved in it in their own daily lives. So, it's a real thing, no matter how much some of the boxing media people want to, gloss it over. It's real.
It's as real as it gets, man. I don't know. First of all, Adelaide Byrd, she is indeed a judge, because, like, again, she's part of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, so she has to judge MMA fights, and I've seen her face in alongside the octagon during some big events, and she's actually posted some bad decisions. Tony Weeks, who is a referee for boxing, works as a judge also. A judge for UFC fights and possibly other MMA fights. So I don't know, if she can't get boxing right, well, let's say she's not corrupt. Let's say she's just incompetent. She can't get boxing right. Then they're putting her in a sport that's a little more complicated than boxing, because there's jiu-jitsu and wrestling. That's ridiculous,
there's more
man.
than two hands coming at an opponent. It's much more difficult to score, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, so that's why I'm saying, man, it's corruption through and through here with Adelaide Byrd.
Right.
Now here's the thing, though. You said earlier that you had worked in your younger days, that there was $20 missing from a register, right?
Right.
Yeah, you sure you didn't take that to buy some guitar strings or something?
No, man. No, I was working at Carl's Jr. I was, what was I? I was 19 years old. It was 1992, and it was during summer, And I remember my boss had me working in the first drive-through window. I was the guy taking the orders and collecting the money after they ordered. And it had gone on, like, my entire shift had gone by really quickly. And my boss pulled me aside at the end when he counted my drawer and said, there's about $20 missing. He goes, look, man, he goes, I don't know why it's missing, but I suggest you find it.
Oh.
You know, and he kind of motioned towards his own wallet, like for me to open my wallet and put something back.
Right.
You know, I don't think he thought I stole it. I just think he thought I fucked up and that I had better pay the company back. But you know, but you know, being young and stuff, I didn't stand up for myself. I didn't apologize. I really didn't know what to do. So I just remember he pulled me into the office afterwards and said, "Look, it's still not there. We've counted it twice. You know, I got to do something about this." And I got in trouble. I didn't get fired that day, but I ended up quitting that job like a year later. But like, I got my ass reamed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, he told me how it was. You know, and I was a young guy and inexperienced, so I just sat there like a deer caught in headlights, and you know, took the ass beating basically. You know, and he had at it. You know.
I want my fucking money.
Yeah,
At least,
pretty much.
At least, you know, at least he didn't. When you said, "Oh, he brought me to the back," I was like, at least he didn't make you strip like that girl at McDonald's a couple of years ago. Remember that? Or some.
Hell no, dude. No. I wouldn't. Even at that age, I wouldn't have gone in for anything like that.
Fuck me up the ass with your.
No way.
Fuck me up the ass with your hot teenage cock.
Yeah.
That's what was. That one was
Not for any job, man.
Oh man, no, we could sit here and talk about shitty jobs all day long, man.
Yep.
I'll tell you what has to be a shitty job right now. Oscar Valdez's trainer, Manny Robles. I think that's how you say it, Manny Robles. Oscar Valdez yesterday, man. Just want to get back to that fight. I know you're gonna watch it later, but pay attention to how Valdez, who, you know, every time, the reason why he became popular amongst boxing fans is because of his all-action style, right? He puts everything into his shots. But that became a problem last night because he was loading up on everything. And he would throw right hook, left hook, right hook, left hook. And the guy he was fighting was smart. He would figure it out and start delivering uppercuts through the middle. And I believe it was Steady Atlas who said after the 9th round or 10th round, somewhere along that vicinity, he said, Valdez's team, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and correct some of these mistakes. And I'm thinking, man, when you have a guy like Valdez, who's that talented and smart, chances are that he's going to be able to correct the mistakes. But if he doesn't, it seems to me like things are going to get rough for him. Like, do you see Valdez in the future correct? Because I want to mention another thing. The fact that he struggled against Mariaga, and then Vasil Lomachenko wiped the ring out of with Mariaga, that didn't do any favors for Valdez either, man. He's not looking good right now.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. I don't know. Like you asked at the beginning of the show, you know, if they were going to be as big as, you know, they're kind of being hyped to be. With Valdez, I think it's a little early to tell, you know, or to say one way or the other. But like I said at the beginning of the show, if you're having those kinds of problems against the competition they're facing now, what are they going to do? I mean, what are they going to be able to do against, you know, the sports like, you know, elite level fighters, or even, you know, the level of guys just beneath that? You know, they're going to have some big problems. I don't know. I'll have to watch the fight later tonight, the Valdez fight. But if he had the kinds of problems you said he's having, then, you know, I don't know. I don't know if he can make those adjustments, or, you know, his team can.
I'm telling you, man, you're gonna see the guy. It was visible that he was out of ideas, and I mean,
no plan B.
No plan B, really. No. Well, I mean, afterwards he started throwing straighter shots, like he started flirting with straight shots. But even then, it wasn't working. Hold on, I just want to see what's. I'm just looking at the forums here to see if the Parker versus Fury fights just started.
Okay.
I think they're into the 3rd round, and from what I read, Fury...
I'm not too worried about that one.
Was that? What'd you say?
I said I'm not too worried about that one.
Well, who do you? Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Who do you expect to win that fight? Fury?
Probably. You know, it's. both guys don't really impress me too much. I think probably I've kind of leaned towards Parker. Hasn't Fury been out of the ring for quite a while?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think inactivity is, underplayed a lot. I mean, I know a lot of guys like to talk about it when they do fight predictions and, kind of fight reviews, but I don't think it's talked about enough. Unless you're an elite level fighter, and Parker and Fury are far from that. Either one of those guys. It's tough to shake off that rust. Especially when you're just an okay guy, or a solid guy, it's a lot different. But I think I lean towards Parker just because of the inactivity of Fury.
Well, I tell you what, from what I'm reading right now, it seems like Fury's 3 rounds up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, Canelo, give me my rematch, bitch. He's saying on the chat, he's saying, what if Servina, the guy who fought Valdez, what if Servina was elite? And therefore Valdez isn't really all that bad. That's a good point right there. That's a good point. Speaking of prospects that are also going to be coming up, Antonio Orozco is going to be fighting, I believe, let me check. I think he's fighting next week.
Is he?
Yeah, what do you think about him?
I've only seen a little bit of him. I am not as familiar with him as I need to be or should be. He's kind of like Valdez. I don't know. I don't know enough about him to say either way. I don't want to go off half cocked.
Oh no! Wait, hold on. Just gotta tell you, Orozco was supposed to fight today, and
that's right. But he didn't make weight.
Yeah, again, right? I think it's the second time he's missed.
Yeah. Yep. And he's burning his bridges with the networks and stuff. That's for sure.
See what we're talking about, discipline outside of the ring? This guy.
Absolutely.
Frankie Gomez is another guy.
Yeah, Orozco's 29 years old too. If you don't have that, if you don't have that discipline, when you're much younger, late teens, early 20s, you're never going to be the kind of boxer that, we all hope to see,
Exactly. If at 29 years old he doesn't have his shit together, chances are he's not gonna get it together.
Absolutely.
It says he was born in Tecate, Mexico. I think he's been drinking a little too much Tecate, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. Yep.
Him and Frankie Gomez, 2 guys loaded with talent, and they just seem intent on squandering it all.
Well, you know what? It's kind of like was the latest victim of that was Sergey Kovalev. Guy is super fucking talented.
Right.
Like I thought until, even though I thought the second Ward fight was stopped on illegal blows and he won the first fight, he looked kind of unimpressive in both fights. He didn't look like the Crusher. He just looked like he didn't want to be there, or he looked like a shell of himself. And all the whispers and rumors that go around that he doesn't want to work hard anymore because now he's got money and all of his other personal demons and issues going on. It kind of reminds me of like speaking of discipline or having tremendous discipline and then losing it. Mike Tyson. I mean, that guy was, that guy not only boxed, but he studied boxing. That's all he was, all day, every day, of the young part of his life was boxing. And then as he, when he started making money and started partying and, not taking care of himself and, getting into trouble with people. And, that's when you saw the guy, Buster Douglas knocked him out,
Yeah, Tyson. Yeah, that's an interesting case, Mike Tyson, because like you said, he loved boxing. He would watch tapes. He wanted to live up to the other greats that had been heavyweight champions. But of course, like we all know, he had his issues. Might be the same thing with, like you said, Orozco and Frankie Gomez. Maybe they do love boxing and they just have other mental issues that are preventing them from fulfilling their potential. Or maybe they just happen to be good at boxing, but they don't like it.
Well, it could be that, but it could also be like people that win the lottery, regardless of where they live. If you come from a position of poverty, or even if you're middle class and you're just kind of comfortable, but you still got to bust your ass working every day, and then somebody hands you this check for millions of dollars, or hundreds of thousands of dollars, the first thing these people do, is going, especially with these young guys, they go nuts with their fucking money because they want to eat, good food, they want a lot of nice things that they don't really need. They start giving their money away to friends, and you know what I mean. It goes out the window really fast because they don't have anybody, especially in boxing. And I've heard people talk about this a lot. Is over the last 32 or 3 years that I've been watching. These guys don't have any mentors. The sport doesn't provide anything like that to where, hey, you've got millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't go and buy 40 cars. Don't go and eat, 5 meals a day at a buffet. Don't give your friends, $3 million each. Don't do this. Don't buy shit you don't need. Put away for, you're not going to be able to fight forever. Put a lot of this money away so that you can live comfortably later, and the sport doesn't have anything like that. And, and a lot of these young guys aren't surrounded, they're surrounded by people that are, yeah, let's go party. Let's spend your money, especially spend it on me. Buy this, do that, and then when they retire or they get, to where Orozco's at 29, 30 years old, they're really irresponsible with their money because they come from that position of not having much or having anything at all to having, the world handed to them on a plate. And then it's, when that happens, and I've been there, I've never had that kind of money thrown at me, but I've jumped up in certain aspects of my life where I've gone from making minimum wage when I was a young man to getting out of college and making, $20 or $30 an hour, in 15, 20 years ago. And, the first few paychecks I got, it's like, holy shit, I'm going to go buy this, I'm going to go buy this, I'm going to do this. And then I find myself broke again, just like I was when I didn't make any money. So it's, fortunately I had people around me that said, hey, slow down, dude. Don't fuck up. Don't do that. You need to put some money away. You need to sit on some of that, buy what you need, and then let the rest sit in your bank account. You know what I mean? They don't, if I think if boxing or if the sport had people like that to help these young guys, I think we might not see the kinds of things that we see so often, like with guys like Orozco or even like Mike Tyson, who was totally out of control. Yeah. And it's not just Tyson and Orozco, it's, guys like Broner and, guys of that ilk that just can't seem to get a hold of their personal lives. They get this money and power handed to them, and boom, they just run crazy with it.
Yeah, they don't even necessarily have to have millions of dollars. It just has to be a couple of $100,000 and it's party time,
Right. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, God, if somebody said, even at my age, if somebody said, hey, dude, we want you to, get punched and knocked out in 4 rounds, we'll pay you, $10,000, I would do it in a heartbeat for $10,000. You know what I mean? Because I've got a lot of kids to take care of. And it's like, but I would use that money. Like I said, I was lucky enough to have people around me that, said when they saw me going nuts with money, hey, slow down. Hey, do this, invest some, save some, put some away for a rainy day. I have the advantage of being older now too, where I would know if somebody gave me that kind of money or opportunity, I wouldn't squander it and go out and party, because I'd rather go to, do something else now at 44. But, it's just kind of, it makes me sad because, like I said earlier with the corruption thing, part of what makes me mad about that is these guys give their, they put their health and their lives on the line. And even if they retire healthy, they can end up like they can get, they're at higher risk for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and all these other neurological disorders and diseases that come on in your 50s, 60s, and 70s. And what an awful way to end your life. You know what I mean? So when I see these young guys get these big opportunities and they squander it, I know a lot of people are kind of, well, fuck it, that's their irresponsibility. They're grown men. I get that, but I have a lot more compassion for these guys because they get these huge opportunities and then they squander it, and sometimes those opportunities don't come again, or very rarely.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like you said, these people, they don't have anybody that they have no father figures. First of all, like you said, they're trainers. their trainers, most of the time, they're not father figures. They just show up when it's time to start training camp. You know, they need somebody, like you said, to sit them down and tell them how to manage their money. Like you said, you were lucky that you had people telling you, you don't have to buy 17 guitars, you don't have to buy 27 amplifiers,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But most people don't have that. And I remember I was watching one day, just by chance, there was a documentary on ESPN about that, about athletes and their money. But the documentary mostly focused on basketball players and football players. And I think it was the NFL or the NBA that they had sort of like a 1 hour seminar for all the rookies that were about to start their first season with the NBA, and they were giving them this seminar about how to manage your money, blah blah blah. And let me tell you something, I'd never seen so many bored faces in my life. These guys, they looked like high school students giving a lesson on algebra, man. They could not wait to get out of there. And so that's what happens with these guys, 21, 22 years old. They're given more money than they've ever seen in their lives. And like you said, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to spend it on everything they've never had before, right?
Right, exactly. And they're at that age, they're so young. They're not only gonna spend, but they're gonna party with it too. And they put together those huge entourages of people that are basically just like paid leeches. You know what I mean? They pretend to be their friends or to care about them. And once the money dries up, all those guys are gone. I mean, look at who was it? I watched that HBO documentary years ago on Joe Louis, how he died completely penniless.
Oh yeah.
Almost totally broke. And how, you know what I mean? How fucking sad is that? I mean, the guy gave everything he had to the sport, and fought as an old guy because he needed the money, which is still, that happens a lot today. But, I mean, that's terrible. It should never be like that. But like you said, when you sit a guy that's 20, 21 down and say, hey, dude,
Oop. Split, you there? I believe we just lost Split D. Hold on, let me just invite him back. He dropped. He dropped in the middle of that great conversation. And he was making a point, by the way, guys. Don't think it was just all fluffer. He was going to make a point. And by that, before he comes back... Wait a minute, I don't understand. The icon is still there, but... he's not there. Very interesting. This is the type of surprises you can expect when you step into the boxing debate arena. People just disappear. It's actually a little frightening now if you think about it, because he was talking about money and corruption and shenanigans, and all of a sudden he drops out of the line. Like, I hope Split D is okay. I hope he wasn't a victim of foul play. And I'm sending him messages and he's not answering. The call drop, try again. I'm trying. What's going on here? Some foul play, some shadow play, some subterfuge is going on, and I don't like it. I gotta tell you right now, I don't like it.
Something is wrong here. Dead giveaway. Dead giveaway.
Charles, thank you very much.
Dead giveaway.
What's going on here? And then there's people out through my window howling. There's people howling outside my window. That's creepy as well. And the sun's coming down, so that's not helping. Alright, hold on a second, guys. Let me just correspond with Split D here. Alright, he's still there. But he's just not answering the call. The type of shit that happens here at the Boxing Debate Arena. It's always an exciting time when you're with us here. What's going on here? Alright. Let me just figure out what's going on here, guys, and obviously we'll resume the show. This type of unexpected shit that happens every once in a while. And it was going so well, man. We're talking about money. We're talking about money. We're talking about money.
Take the money, keep your fucking mouth shut. Take the fucking money. Take the fucking money. Take the fucking money.
That's right. Alright, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go to plan B and gonna go to an emergency broadcast, and we'll return in a couple of seconds here. Don't go anywhere, you dirty motherfuckers.
There we go.
All right, I don't know.
There we go.
Yeah, something happened there. Something
Yeah.
very strange. But anyway, glad you're back. Let me just rearrange here the BDA. All right, there we go. Somebody says this is taking a piss music again. Somebody thought we were taking a piss. No, Marvin, we're not taking a piss, man. We're had some technical issues there, but hey, that's what's exciting, right, Split?
That's right.
Yeah, man.
live entertainment.
Exactly, a little suspense there for everybody. All right, all right. So what were we saying before? You were talking about money and that you saw a documentary about
Joe Louis.
Joe Louis, yes. And how it's a
Yeah,
shame.
he died penniless, man, and I know he had those tax problems and stuff with the U.S. government, but you know these guys make millions and millions, you know, during their short careers, and so many of them just, you know, it goes bad, whether it's, you know, when they're young and sometimes even after retirement. You know, you get used to that, especially if it starts when they're young. They're given all that money and power and fame, you know, and they run with it through their whole career, and then they don't know how to adapt after they've retired, and they continue to spend like the money's still coming in. So, you know, it's really sad, man.
Yeah, that's the worst for these guys when they stop fighting. You know, it's bad enough to have to stop doing what you're good at, but then the fact that you're not going to get the same paydays as you were used to. That's why I was talking with King Bucho about Ward's retirement and how this guy is so competitive, man. I don't know how. I don't see him staying retired for too long.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I was hoping we'd talk about that today.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Ward's kind of a God. I don't even know how. I don't know how to describe him or what word suits him best. He just, I mean, he fights so infrequently, and then when he does fight, it's so boring, or you know, it just, I don't know. I think he lost his interest in the sport when he was fighting Dan Goosen in court, years ago, trying to get out of that promotional contract. Because if I love what I'm doing, I'm gonna continue doing it, even if I have to fight my boss in court, or somebody who I'm contracted to in court. It just, I don't know. I get the feeling that he might be gone for good, which is fine with me. I mean, I guess he gives us something to talk about, or guys like me that don't really care for him or his style. It's a talking point, but his fights are always shit. And what does he fight once a year? If you're lucky as a fan, and then when he does fight, it's against nobodies, or somebody like Kovalev who's having issues. I kind of see Ward as I know a lot of people think he's Hall of Fame worthy, and I can see that point of view. I can see why people feel that way. I'm kind of on the fence about it.
Okay.
looking back at Ward's career, I mean, he's definitely an accomplished fighter, and rightfully so, a celebrated fighter in some regards. But the guy represents, at least for me, at least in my opinion, he represents everything that sucks about boxing.
Ooh.
Like he fights infrequently. He constantly chases the worst opposition he can. And then when he fights, worst of all, he's boring. The guy's got a horrible personality. You can see right through that bullshit smile he puts on for the camera when he's on the air. He's real entitled. He's very smug, and maybe it's because I'm an older guy. I can see through that shit. I deal with those kinds of people all the time because I kind of work in customer service or public relations. So, you get to know all types, and I've seen that type a million times before. So, the guy, I think, as a fighter, the guy was really good at what he did. I won't take that from him, but I didn't enjoy watching him. I don't think he deserves half of the admiration or the adulation that he gets. I just, the Super 6 tournament, okay, yeah, he won that, but the tournament was built for him. It was a showcase for Andre Ward.
Right.
It was built and constructed by Ken Hirschman to build that brand, to expose the world to Andre Ward. And even though he won that, and he was impressive in doing so, and he's a highly skilled fighter even in those days. Fuck, the guy's so boring. The guy can't sell out his hometown. I mean, what does that tell you? He had a tournament made to showcase him, and he still can't sell his hometown out after that. And then he disappears or fights 3 times in 5 years, was it, while he was embattled in court with Goosen. And when he comes back, he needs 2 or 3 tune-ups, which he looked less than impressive in. And then he takes on one of the most perceived dangerous guys in the sport. And then it turns out that it was a very calculated risk because Kovalev had all these other issues going on. Right. And that's not to, I know a lot of people are going to go, well, Split D or Scott just hates Andre Ward. I don't really hate the guy. I loathe that style of boxing. I don't like what the guy brought to the sport or what he did to the sport. He doesn't lift like a guy like Mike Tyson or like Marvin Hagler or even like Golovkin. That's a good modern example. Or even Anthony Joshua. There's another good one. Mm-hmm. So people don't think I'm on the Golovkin bandwagon today. They lift the sport up to new levels. They put the spotlight on the sport, and they get people talking. And even putting the bad decision from last week aside, guys like Golovkin and Joshua, and even Mikey Garcia to a lesser extent, they're exciting. And when they fight, they perform really well. They get people talking. They make casuals want to tune in again. They makes casuals ask guys like you and I questions. It makes them curious about the sport, and they give everything they have. They leave everything they have in the ring, 99% of the time, and whereas guys like Ward, like I don't want to talk in circles. They don't do those things. Ward's the complete opposite of the guy. He's the antithesis of the guys that are good for the sport, or the guys that make the sport better, or get us excited, and give us things to talk about, positive things to talk about. Ward just sucks the air out of the room, whenever, Ward's fighting again. Well, yeah, another fucking tune-up. You know what I mean? What is it? And then when he does step up, it's always very calculated. Ward reminds me a lot of Floyd Mayweather. I think Mayweather's the better fighter overall, has the better skill set. Mm-hmm. But it was a very, very similar career trajectory, and outcome. It was kind of the same thing in my eyes. I know a lot of people are going to piss all over that and say I just hate the guy, and they're not wrong in saying that I don't like his style, don't like what he does for the sport. But it's not a biased. I'm just making an observation. I see what I see. Ward. I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer in my book, but I think he deserves to be there. Maybe not first ballot, but I don't know, man. I think the guy is one of the most overrated boxers of the last 20 years. I mean, at least in my opinion, you know.
Well, you said so much there. We gotta unpack it all.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, it's great. It's great. Well, first of all, hold on. King Butcher wants to join. He just got back from whatever party he was at, because that's what King Butcher does. He's always partying. Can't stop partying. Thank God he's not a boxer, man, because I was gonna say he would be making weight, man. Well, hold on. Let me see if he's here.
I don't think I would either.
Oh, hold on.
I'm 5'6" and 175 pounds. So
you're 5'6". How much?
175, man.
175. Light heavyweight. King Butcher, are you there?
Yeah. What up?
Oh.
What's up, Bucho?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine. We hear you fine. All right, so let's.
I missed everything almost. Like.
You missed.
I missed the whole conversation, basically.
Don't worry about it. We're talking about Andre Ward's retirement and Split. I want to get to some of the points that you made. You said that he tried to be like Mayweather, or he had that same. He was trying to follow the Floyd Mayweather model of fighting the guys he wanted. Most of those guys who weren't up to beating him, but trying at the same time to get the most money out of it. Andre Ward tried to follow the Mayweather example, and he found out rather harshly that it's not all that easy to imitate. And like you said, most people didn't want to watch him. The guy was, a lot of people compared him to Bernard Hopkins. But think about it, Bernard Hopkins really started to become very dirty once he started to slow down in his early 40s. Andre Ward was fighting that way since he's in his 20s. So, I mean, come on. I mean, he's never
right. No, I agree. And you know what? Just one more gripe about Ward is the guy was given every opportunity throughout his entire career.
Right.
And put on a pedestal by networks, by promoters, by media, or most media, and the guy pissed on everybody, and nobody dropped the guy. Nobody would walk away from the guy or say anything bad about him.
Right.
It was always, it almost like there was something about him that nobody wanted to cross. Nobody wanted to, turn their back on him, and I'll never understand why. Because even outside of the ring, when the guy was a total prick.
Yeah. Exactly. That's like you said. HBO had him in there as a commentator. He had his pro debut on HBO back in 2004. Like, they were grooming this guy to be this star, but it was evident after the Super 6 that he wasn't ever gonna be the superstar they wanted him to be. Sure, he did decent numbers when he fought at home in Oakland, where he fought most of the time. But other than that, he never proved to be the economic cash cow that they were hoping for. So why were they keeping him around? Like, what? Does he have tapes on HBO executives or something? Like, Yeah,
it's gotta make you think. What does he have on these people to keep them? You know what I mean? Oh, come on back. I know he pissed all over HBO, and they brought him back for a commentating job.
Right.
I mean, if your contract is up, and then you go online or you go public and trash your boss, trash the company you work for, and paint them all in a bad light, they're not going to fucking hire you back, or most people wouldn't. I don't understand. I said I'll never understand the love that Andre Ward gets, even from people that don't like him. It's he was this or that. No, the guy was a prick. The guy was boring. The guy never did anything for the sport to elevate it, to lift it up. And when I look at Andre Ward, if Andre Ward would never ever do anything like Anthony Joshua or Golovkin has done in chasing dangerous fights. Like, if Andre Ward would have never fought Klitschko, even the 41-year-old version that came back to fight Joshua, because that guy was dangerous. The guy's dangerous at any age just because of his size and power. But then you have a guy like Golovkin that from the day he debuted on HBO, he call me, I want big drama show, against the biggest names. He's chased everybody, and tried to run through every roadblock head first to try to get the biggest fights he can. And I think his debut is supposed to be against Pirog, which was really dangerous. Right. That's a dangerous fight, even for Gennady. And then you got guys like Ward and like Mayweather, that are really opportunistic. And I don't want to fight. He avoided Margarito when Margarito was considered dangerous. Mm-hmm. He didn't fight Mosley until Mosley was just a shell of himself. Very very calculated risk. But then these guys, and relevant to this conversation, Andre Ward, still get all this praise and love, and I get it. When you watch guys like Andre Ward and Mayweather fight, you see we all see the talent and skill. It's there. If you're an educated boxing fan or an observer, you know what you're watching. Those guys are really good, at least at what they do. But
with
go ahead,
Golovkin,
Bucho.
sorry, but sorry to cut you off, but with Golovkin, wasn't there a sense of urgency because of his age? Like they knew that he had to get all these big fights in before he, got older. Though I feel like there was a sense of urgency with Golovkin in his career because of the promotional issues he had.
Right, and I agree because what was that? He was 29 or 30, or almost 30 when he fought Proska. So yeah, I get that. But he's still, even today. I mean, I don't think I just can't see Ward taking the kinds of fights that somebody like Golovkin has taken, and that's one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of Golovkin and guys like Hagler and Tyson. They took dangerous fights. Sometimes they were forced to, but they took dangerous fights. That I don't see these other guys are ever taking. You know what I mean? It's they've done everything they can to wait until somebody's old, to wait until somebody has an injury or has had a loss or two. It just, but people keep throwing these heaps and mountains of praises on these guys. And it's like, these guys don't represent what boxing is about. Boxing is, and I know it's kind of an idealistic, viewpoint that I have of the sport because I love it so much. But boxing to me is supposed to be the best fighting the best when both guys are at the best point in their careers. That really doesn't happen, or it rarely happens. But, to me, all roads lead to those big fights. And I want to see that. And those guys, like the Andre Wards, even Andre Durrell, we were talking about that earlier. Those guys, they find ways to not fight, or to fight, lesser opposition or less threatening opposition. And that kind of shit, I just don't understand why people give those guys so many props, so much praise.
Yeah, even when he fought Kovalev, both times, he was stomping his feet like a spoiled brat that didn't want to go to school. It's like he didn't want to fight Kovalev, and props to him for finding him and finding unconventional ways, let's say, to beat him. But you're right. He took the. I know some people are gonna say, well, wait a minute, he won the Super 6 tournament, he beat everybody at super middleweight, which is true, but again, there's those asterisks, like you said. He fought all his fights were in the U.S., in California. He never ventured outside of California or even the country, like the rest of the other guys in the Super 6. So this guy, he was always trying to minimize his risk, which is his right. But then at the same time, he shouldn't be scratching his head wondering, whoa, why am I not more popular? Or why wasn't I more popular? Well, because you were trying to fucking line everything up so that it was to your advantage. And that, boxing fans see through that.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the people that are, especially on Twitter, that were, when Ward announced his retirement, were, the sport will miss Andre Ward. Who the fuck's going to miss Andre Ward?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? With him out of the picture, all those belts are up for grabs. You've got guys like Bevol, Kovalev still kind of lingering around. You got all these other guys that can be, the division can be competitive again, and it's not going to have a champion holding three or four of the belts, or three of the major belts, hostage by only fighting once a year. If the sport's lucky, and not cherry picking egregiously. Now these guys, hopefully, will get in there and mix it up.
What's sad is that people are gonna be talking about Andre Ward as one of the best light heavyweights of all time. When he only fought Kovalev, and that's it. I mean, it wasn't like he had a reign in the light heavyweight division. You know what I mean? Right. He didn't defend his titles or anything like that. He just fought Kovalev twice, controversially, and then now people are going to be saying, when they rank their top 10 light heavyweights, they're going to be mentioning Ward. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious, man?
Yeah, no, Jesus. I agree, Bucho. I saw people saying that on Twitter. Some people that I actually have respect for, and when I saw that, I thought, what the fuck are you thinking? You know, and they said, well, regardless of whether you thought he won or not, he beat Kovalev twice. But my brain and my eyes, I know what I watched. The first fight, Kovalev got robbed. He won that fight, regardless of what the judges say, regardless of what any athletic commissioner or organization says. He won. And the second fight he was fouled repeatedly, and then the fight was stopped on a low blow, which is bullshit too. So my brain doesn't recognize those two fights as victories for Andre Ward. I don't give a fuck what any organization says, except for the one in my own head. So, you know, these guys can praise, you know, and stroke his balls all they want, but the guy's not one of the all-time great, you know, 175 pounders. Not even fucking close.
No, definitely not. 175-pound top light heavyweight of all time? Nah.
Yeah, not even close. Like I said, I think Ward was a really good fighter. You know, I won't say that he was crap or he was some B-level guy, or he was a really good fighter, but I don't think he was a master boxer like everybody says, you know, or still likes to say he was. I mean, Kovalev that was having problems outboxed this guy that was supposed to be a master boxer, you know, and I know I say that a lot, but I do that because it's the truth. You know, going into that first Kovalev fight, Kovalev, you know, he's a puncher, just like they say about Golovkin. He doesn't really have any boxing skills. He's just got, you know, lead in his gloves. You know, he's a heavy hitter, and he wasn't. Kovalev's not. Kovalev's a boxer puncher with a lot of skill behind what he does. And even with all the problems he had, he beat Ward twice in my mind. When that second fight was stopped, I had him winning by 1 round.
Yeah, because somehow if you have punching power, then you're not a boxer. You don't have boxing skills, right?
Right.
Why is this association? Where did this come from? You know, you can have punching power and be a good boxer. Well, what the fuck? Why not?
Right. Well, it's funny because the people that say that bullshit online, Bucho, are people that have been watching the sport for just a year, 2 years, or even 3 years, and they're all younger people.
Floyd fans.
Yeah, it started, and I know other people have said that online, made a point of that, or made a point of pointing it out, is that mentality started in the, you know, somewhere around like 10 years ago or so, when Mayweather was started that, once he beat Oscar, once he started going on that, you know, twice a year pay-per-view run type of thing. Before that, because growing up, and I think you guys we're all close in age, growing up in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, like, Marvin Hagler was a tremendous boxer. But today, if he was active, they would talk about him the same way they talk about Kovalev and Golovkin. Oh, he's just a puncher. You know, he's just knocking guys out. He doesn't really have any skill. And and they probably say the same thing about Tommy Hearns, you know, and all those guys, you know. And it blows my fucking mind, because it's like this. I don't know that these people are going anywhere either. They're probably going to be fans for the rest of their lives, and they're all going to outlive us. So at some point, you know, our voices are going to go out, and those guys are going to be the quote unquote experts, you know, or the expert voices in the sport. And that I feel bad for anybody that follows them.
I don't think they're going to be experts. I think their bias is too strong, and we can see through their fucking bias. They will never be. No, I don't believe it.
Right, but once guys like us are gone, you know what I mean, whether we're watching the sport or we're just dead and gone, like those guys, those younger guys that are 20, 30 years younger than us are going to be the guys doing what we're doing right now, talking boxing all the time, you know, and it's going to be their opinions that other people or new fans and casuals look to, you know, for information. It's, you know, well, what does this guy say? Oh yeah, you can't have that kind of power and have skill, or you must be juicing if you're hitting that hard. You know, guys like us that know the sport and know what we're looking at and take the time to read and, you know, research, do our homework, we're going to be gone. You know what I mean? We won't be around to say, hey, you know, no, wait a minute, this guy's full of shit. You know, don't listen to him. Here's why, you know?
Well, let's analyze this problem. Let's call it a problem. When did it begin? I believe it began with fucking Floyd Mayweather. You know, his rhetoric about, like, hit and not get hit, you know, all this slickness, bullshit. It started with Mayweather, and I believe it will die with Mayweather. And Mayweather is gone now, so I have hope, and I am positive that this fucking mentality is going to end with Mayweather retiring.
Oh, it very well could. Now with Ward going away too, I think that a lot of his fans, or a lot of those fans, will hopefully go quiet or get more and more quiet as time goes on. But some of these guys have YouTube channels with hundreds of thousands of followers. They're making a shit ton of money on Patreon, and they get a lot of respect from people that shouldn't be getting
Mayweather. That's more of a racial thing. Let's be honest.
Well, no, I agree.
So they profit from all of that. They know their market and what they want to hear, and they pander to those fucking losers, man.
Yeah,
it's not about slickness or boxing. It's more of a racial thing. So,
and that's the thing too. You say with Ward and Mayweather being gone, and hopefully gone for good, like that stuff will kind of go away or become much more quiet. But because it's a racial thing, I've seen them jump from Ward and Mayweather. These guys in that demographic. Like they love Canelo now. They've all jumped on the Canelo bandwagon, and they do it because they think Triple G's a white guy because he's got white skin.
I agree with you. Also, that's true. But also because they believe in that triangle theory, whereas if Canelo beats Golovkin, then it's as if Mayweather beat Golovkin because Mayweather beat Canelo. So then by their logic, then Canelo beats. So that's why they were rooting for Canelo. Because they wanted to brag about Mayweather could have been Golovkin.
Right. Well, it's funny because we all know that, like, you brought up the term racist, and they are. It's all about race for those guys, but they're shitty racists because they jump from the black guy to the Mexican guy.
Oh,
you know
what
I mean? Tomorrow, if Canelo were to get knocked out, they jump on someone else's bandwagon.
No, because exactly. These people are completely retarded. At some point, they were saying like, "Why are Mexicans rooting for Canelo when he's not even brown?" It's like, are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious, you fuckers?
Well, that's the thing, and I get that from Mexican people that I know, in my own, my private life. They're like, "You're half Mexican. Why are you a Golovkin fan?" And it's like, who the fuck cares? What does it fucking matter? It doesn't matter where I'm from.
This isn't the FIFA World Cup of soccer. This isn't the World Cup. It's not Mexico against this. It's a boxer. Because you can have noise. You can have like a Mexican against a Mexican in boxing, right? Who are you gonna root for then?
The one with browner skin.
Yeah, that's the next level, right? Fucking idiots.
The one without freckles.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I hope you're right, Bucho. I hope that stuff lessens or and eventually goes away. But I don't know. Like BDA and I were talking earlier, how awesome social media is for guys like us, because we grew up in a time where before all you could do was talk to your friends at school or at work or your family about boxing. You couldn't go online and talk to everyone around the world. But conversely, there's that side of especially Twitter, where it's you get these people that are race baiters and culture pimps, and they their whole thing, the whole thing, all they want to do is stir up controversies so that they can get paid. You know what I mean? And it just it drives me fucking nuts.
Well, that's the other thing about like I said about bad decisions, that I don't take them all that seriously. I learned a long time ago to stop paying attention to what I read on the internet. I mean, I'll read it sometimes and I'll just take it in stride and go, oh, okay, you think this, you think that, all right, fine. It's an ignorant decision. I mean, point of view, but I get it. People have the right to say whatever they want. I mean, let's face it. This is a sport. It's a sport. We're talking about it, and people like to discuss it for fun. So I don't take it all that seriously, and I suspect that neither do you guys. Like, you don't take it, like, you don't lose sleep over what you read on the internet.
No. If I were 20 years younger or 30 years younger and I was online doing this, I'd be upset over everything, as a young person. But fuck, man, I don't give a shit what anybody says right now, whether they agree with me or not. You know what I mean? But like I said, going back to earlier, BDA, what we were talking about, what upsets me is not an opinion, but like like willful ignorance when these people that are, you know, all about race or culture or, you know, where you're from or whatever, or these people that don't really watch the sport are speaking as though they have been watching for as long as we have, or they, you know, they know what we know about boxing. They're as well studied in it as we are. You know, that kind of shit drives me nuts. And when you tell them, you know, no, here's why, and you give them facts, you give them evidence to show them that they're wrong, and then they still go, well, no, fuck you, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. That kind of shit, even at my age, still drives me nuts. I get upset over that because it hurts the sport. You know, there's other people. There's always casuals watching. Mm-hmm. There's people that are just getting into the sport, you know, and we remember what that's like, you know, and with people throw misinformation at you, and then there's that risk that these new fans, you know, they don't listen to guys that know what they're talking about. They follow, you know, this other crowd. They go that way instead of the way they should go. You know, there's always that risk, and that kind of shit gets under my skin.
Well, it's because it's the, how shall I say, it's, for some people it's juicier or more entertaining to talk about the outside of the ring shenanigans than actually delving into what's going on inside the ring, which is what it should be all about, really, if you think about it.
Right. Well, that was like with that Amir Khan thing with his wife, what, last month or a few weeks ago?
Right.
Like, I laughed at it when I saw some of the memes and stuff, but I don't give a shit. That's his personal business. Yeah, I kind of felt bad for the guy. You know, like, I wouldn't want to have to go through that, but, like, that's all anybody on Twitter wanted to talk about, even the media, and it's like, dude, if we're going to talk about Amir Khan, let's talk about how funny he is every time he gets knocked out, you know, and how funny he looks when he goes down, or, you know, how mediocre he is. And he was one of those guys, too, that was supposed to be, like, the next big thing. And it turned out he was just kind of okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. But nobody wants to talk about the fighters. It's all about, you know, like you said, it's the sensationalism of the media kind of thing.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, the media, also the boxing media, a lot of these guys, it's hard to find good boxing writers. I mean, they're out there. But a lot of these guys, they just toe the line, you know. Like, for example, when De La Hoya fought Mayweather, they were all repeating the same headline: "Is this the fight to save boxing? This is the fight to save boxing." And they were doing the same thing with Golovkin, Canelo, some of them, you know. And then afterwards, of course, they all go back to the same trope, which is boxing is dying, boxing is a corrupt sport, blah blah blah. And there's no originality. But then again, it's because it's about what sells, right? You know, the sensationalism.
Right. Well, I think with the people that are the media outlets, or the people those writers that create those headlines, they're like the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, you know what I mean, for other networks or other firms, because they're not hardcore viewers of the sport. They're just kind of brought in to cover a big event, and then they like you said, they use the same tropes and the same cliches every time. It's beforehand, this is the fight to save boxing, these are the guys, you know, and then boxing's dead, or like when Mayweather retired, now who's gonna keep boxing? You know, who's gonna keep boxing's head above water?
Right.
You know, who's gonna keep it from sinking? You know, once Mayweather's gone, once Pacquiao's gone, it's like, oh fuck, man, this sport's like, you know, 150 something years old. You know, it's not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It is, as it always has been. It's you know, it's more of a niche sport now than I think it ever has been, but. You know, it's pretty much the same sport that existed, you know, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Just, you know, well, different in some aspects, but mostly the same.
It's like I told Randall Bailey when we were talking, as long as there's people out there, young kids, you know, getting into street fights and needing an outlet to let all that rage out there, and as long as there are boxing gyms that are full of those guys, boxing is never going to die. I mean, it's always going to be there.
No. Nope, and there's always going to be people like us that love to watch people beat the shit out of each other.
Exactly.
So it's a perfect marriage, you know.
You know, just one last thing, that also the other trope, I was talking about this with King Bucho one day, because I remember in the early 2000s, right around the time where Tyson was doing his whole shtick about, you know, when I eat your children and all that whole thing. That was the apex of the Tyson mania. After the bite, you know, that was when people were saying, okay, Tyson is a nut job, he's gonna hurt somebody one day. And that's all the magazines. I would look at the racks of magazines, in newsstands, and all the boxing magazines, it was all Tyson on the cover, and all the headlines were Tyson is destroying boxing, Tyson is crazy, Tyson is this, Tyson is that, get Tyson out of boxing. But then I started wondering, well, then why are you writing about him? Like, why not ignore the guy? Why? Because writing is a business, you know. It's everyone. This is the thing about boxing. About boxing is everyone's trying to get something out of it, and sometimes it's slimy. Most of the time it's slimy. Most of the time it's dirty, but it is what it is, right?
Right. No, and even if boxing became as big, you know, as big as like football, American football is here in the States, like they would still write stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
Because there's always sports reporters and journalists that don't know the sport they're covering as well as they should. There's a million Stephen A. Smiths out there. I mean, that guy gets a lot of heat, and rightfully so, but he's not. It's not fair to say that, like, put the spotlight on him and say, well, he's the worst, he's the only one. There's a lot of guys out there. Look, what's that? Mike Coppinger. Now he works for the Ring. Ring Online. That guy fucking sucks at his job, man.
The bald guy, yeah.
Yeah. He just got hired by the Ring, and it's like, man, that guy, when he worked for USA Today, or the USA Network, whatever that was, God, he's fucking terrible.
Like, what would he say? What? I know the name, but I'm not familiar with his name.
Well, he's very biased towards certain fighters.
Okay.
He's one of those. He's the type of guy that, like going back to Andre Ward or Floyd Mayweather. You know, well, yeah, I understand the criticism, but they're so great, or this or that, or it's a fuck off with that stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not schooled in journalism. I mean, I have a college degree, but it's not in journalism, but I could do a better job than that guy could. Or that guy does. Like you said, BDA, a lot of these guys just want to toe the line. I have props to Mike Montero, from Montero in Boxing. After the Golovkin fight last weekend, he stood up and asked those really hard questions to Bob Bennett. And he's probably going to get banned for life from certain events or certain venues. But nobody else would fucking do that. And he even said the other reporters were cowards. You know what I mean? But that's why guys like Stephen A. Smith exist, because, like you said, they want to toe certain company lines. They're there to throw out certain tropes and cliches. They're there to paint a certain picture for certain fighters or certain promotional organizations, and that that's what they're paid to do. You know what I mean? And most reporters aren't going to take the hard line and go after the corruption or go say, hey, this fighter isn't really what you say he is. He kind of sucks. He's kind of boring, or he seems like he might be a little overrated. You're never gonna. You're not. That's going to be, those kinds of reporters, those kinds of journalists are very rare. You know what I mean? In any sport, not just our sport.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. And excuse me. And it's all about selling. That's why I don't blame him all that much. And like you said, Montero, when he stood up against Bob Bennett and he said, I'm probably going to get my credentials revoked, and you could see Oscar De La Hoya standing next to Bob Bennett, and he's pouting and shaking his head like, no, that's not going to happen. But come on, let's wait a couple of weeks and see, man, right?
Oh yeah. I don't think Mike will be invited to that rematch at all. He'll have to watch from home.
Yeah, he'll have to.
No, I think he's too big at this point to get marginalized and ostracized.
It's possible, but I wouldn't want to be. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to ask the questions he asked. I would love to be in those shoes and do that, but I can't imagine what kind of fallout he's going to face. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to take him down or anything, or shut his channels down. But there's a lot to lose when you ask those kinds of questions.
Yeah.
That's why I respect that guy even more so after that, because he did it, and the way he asked those questions, he did it in a really professional and classy way. He wasn't a dick about it. It was funny because the way Mike asked the questions, I thought, okay, that's cool. The way he did it was the right way to do it. But then you had Bob Bennett kind of, well, let's talk about the fighters and how great of a fight it was. No, dude, shut the fuck up. Answer the question. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Do you think Dan Raphael would have asked those type of questions?
No. You know what? I really like Dan. I think he's good at what he does. He's a good reporter. But like as far as being a journalist goes, fuck, man, he's there. He's not going to ruffle any feathers, and he's probably not allowed to. You know what I mean? I'm sure they all have their, every reporter or journalist boxes probably tells them, hey, you're going to cover this fight, but this is a no. This is a no. You don't ask this question.
Yeah.
You don't say this to this guy. You don't look at this person. We all know how. It's that way across any industry. Just like when you interview a professional musician or a movie star, before the interview goes live or before it's recorded, there's their manager or their PR person says, you don't ask Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so this question, that question. You don't talk about their marriage. You don't talk about their drinking problem. You're going to pretend that this doesn't exist. That's just, not only to sell, but because they don't want, putting people on the spotlight, makes people look bad, makes, sales go bad, or makes popularity go down. So there's, somebody like Dan Raphael, like I said, I like the guy. I've always liked the guy. But as far as journalism goes, he's not a journalist. He's just a reporter, and he's a good reporter. But he would never ask anything like that, and I don't think he's allowed to.
No, he's a good typist. That's what he is.
Yeah, exactly. He's a good writer, and he's a decent reporter.
Well, you know what?
We got Reverse Lee.
Well, hold on.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Yo, Reverse Lee.
Hey, good, man.
Now, Split.
Yeah,
I understand.
Because I was.
Well, hold on. Split. I understand you got a split soon.
Oh yeah, what's your video about? Andre Ward?
Oh no.
That's what you said, no?
All right.
No, I'm making a video detailing the Roman Gonzalez loss that he took from Rungside.
Okay, give us a link when you are done with that, man. I want to see that shit.
All right, it took like 40 minutes for me to make the video. Then they rejected the upload because they said it was too long and I had to verify my account. So now I have to wait another 40 minutes to upload it.
Oh, I didn't know that shit. So what are you saying? Like you're what are you explaining in that video?
Like the details behind like his training camp, what he did wrong in the ring. And some other stuff.
Okay. Yeah, send us a link when you're done with it. We'll post it. I want to see that shit.
Well, hold on. I gotta tie some loose ends. I gotta tie some loose ends here. Split, you gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta run.
Like right now?
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty much.
All right. So Split, thank you for joining us, man. You dropped some real knowledge here today. Made some great points. As for Michael Montero, don't be surprised if the next time you go see a fight at the movie theater, he's right next to you, because, like I said, he's they're probably going to prove those
pretty much.
All right, Split, thank you for joining us, man.
All right,
thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
Take care, man.
You too.
All right, that was Split D. As you can tell, he told us he's a writer. He works in PR, I believe. He's a musician. He's a boxing aficionado. I think he does it all, this guy.
I am a writer, a doctor, a nuclear physicist, a theoretical philosopher. But above all, I am a man.
That's right. That is Split D encapsulated. Now, Reverse. Tell us, man. Did you... well, first of all, there's so much going on right now. There were the fights yesterday. I don't know if you catch them. Was that?
Now I saw Kavaluskis' last fight. I saw the Valdez fight, and I saw the Ramirez fight.
Okay, and I just saw that fucking Hughie Fury got robbed against Parker.
I just saw a majority decision. Majority decision for Joseph Parker. I didn't see the fight, to be honest, so I can't say anything about a robbery, but apparently it was close.
Yeah, I haven't seen that fight either.
If anybody saw the fight, please tell us if it was a robbery or Canelo, I think you saw the fight. Can you tell us if it was a robbery, please?
Well, from what I understand, there were two 118, 110 cards for Parker, which some people are saying that's what they're angry about. That the fight was so much closer, but they gave 10 rounds to to Parker. That's really, I don't know. I have to see the fight.
Joseph Parker is with Bob Arum, so just take that in mind.
Okay, yeah. And how about the Kudryashov fight? Did that start yet, or?
Jesus Christ!
All right, King Bucha, why don't you check that out?
I really need to get on top of this of these super serious fights.
Exactly. Yeah. King Bucha's gonna take care of it, I believe. He didn't answer me, but sometimes he doesn't need to answer.
I'll try. Let me see what the fuck.
Yeah, probably. We're gonna probably keep doing this. Stay here for maybe, I don't know, half an hour more. Is that okay with you, Reverse?
It sure is.
All right, perfect. Yeah, we don't want to go too long. We don't want to bore everybody out there. Even though I find it hard to believe that anybody would be bored with us superstars here on the line. I mean, come on. If you're bored by this, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah. Well, so you caught the fights yesterday, right?
Yes, I actually fell asleep on the Ramirez fight just because I was so tired. So I had to wake up in the middle of the night and watch them online.
Oh, okay. Did you? Oh, you found them online right away?
Yeah, if you can get them like a couple hours after the fight goes off, then you can find them on YouTube relatively easily.
No kidding. Well, that's if they're on ESPN, right?
Yeah, I've also seen them do it on Showtime, HBO, but you gotta get on it quickly before those copyright strikes go down.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing, because usually the day after of a fight, it's you can find the links on YouTube, but then they take them off pretty quick. You gotta usually you gotta go to another website, another flash site. Okay, so what did you think about the both fighters, like the favorites, Ramirez and Valdez? How do you think they looked?
They looked pretty good, especially Ramirez. I was very impressed by Gilberto.
Well, what did you like about him?
I liked how he was actually being the aggressor. He didn't go 12 like he's been going recently. I was beginning to question if he actually had any power at the championship level, because all of his world title fights have gone 12 so far. Oh, and wait, no, he went 12 with Jesse Hart, right?
It was a unanimous decision.
Oh yeah, because he did go 12. He got a knockdown and he hurt Jesse Hart a bunch of times in the fight.
Yeah. And now here's the thing, though. You said you liked what you saw from Ramirez. I like the body work that he was doing in the first couple of rounds. I like his toughness. I like his grit. I don't like the fact that he sort of runs out of ideas in the middle of the fight, in that if he can't take a guy out of there, his usual plan is just to outwork a guy. But eventually just outworking somebody isn't going to cut it.
I would say that Oscar Valdez is actually a higher level fighter than he is, in my personal opinion. I would say that they're like pound for pound. Oscar Valdez's skills are probably above Gilberto Ramirez's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. And just going back to the Ramirez fight, I was asking Split D about this. Like the 168-pound division is more or less wide open. I mean, you got guys like David Benavidez, Chris Eubank Jr., the Durrell brothers, Callum Smith, and then of course George Groves and James DeGale.
I wouldn't lay down on the Durrell brothers too much.
You was that?
I don't really think the Durrell brothers have too much of a standing at 168 like they did years ago.
Nah, I agree with you. Those guys are full of physical talent.
Like Andre Durrell, he kind of got slapped around Ustegeki. That was kind of embarrassing. And the Anthony Durrell fight, that was just hard to watch.
The Durrell, yeah, both guys, there's something missing there, man. There's something missing, and I'm afraid to say that at the same thing about Gilberto Ramirez. There's something missing there, man. There's, a couple of.
It's almost as if they don't quite have the self-belief that they should have at their level.
Well, let me tell you this. If I were Andre Durrell, I'd have a shitload of confidence, because he has hand speed and punching power to boot. I mean, to spare, I should say. This guy's got it all physically, but mentally, he just, like you said, maybe self-confidence.
Except for his chin.
Yeah, that chin too.
He's relatively easy to hit, because he usually keeps, what he does is he'll put one hand on the side of his face, and he'll keep one hand. Actually, no, what he'll do is he'll keep both hands around his chest, so that makes him relatively easy to hit.
Yeah.
And plus, he gets put up against the ropes, like in the Usyk fight, relatively easily.
Exactly.
So if you don't put your guard up at that point in the fight, you're going to get hit.
Exactly.
And it seems that Dirrell still hasn't learned this since his James DeGale fight, where James DeGale, I think, knocked him down at least twice.
Yes, twice.
And then Usyk had him on Queer Street multiple times in a fight.
Well, you see what happens with Dirrell is that he's used to relying on his reflexes. So, like you said, he tries to pull back from shots, but like you said, it didn't work against DeGale.
The problem with that is you can only do that for so long. You're going to get older, and your reflexes will fade. So you actually do have to start beginning to use your brain in order to last.
Yeah, I don't see him doing that anytime soon.
And they're not going to let him challenge for the DeGale belt again. He's going to have to fight Usyk. I mean, he was getting beaten by Usyk so badly that Usyk was actually ahead on the cards on a PBC card versus a PBC fighter. They actually had the foreigner ahead on at least 2 of the cards. And that's bad. I mean, my personal opinion with that fight, it was blown up to be a lot more than it was. Usyk, he kind of hit him after the bell, but it really wasn't that serious for the referee to just straight disqualify Usyk. I mean, the referee in the Dirrell family were just angry at Usyk because they knew that Usyk was just beating on Dirrell constantly. The only time Dirrell was winning rounds in that fight is when Usyk had backed off of him and wasn't pressuring him as much. That's the only reason he began to win rounds.
Exactly. He has a lot of luck, Andre Dirrell, when it comes to weird finishes that save his ass during tough fights.
Yeah, and they're not going to let him challenge for the belt after that because he didn't win a fight.
Well, can he get his uncle to fight for him again?
I mean, his uncle, he's got to get out of jail.
Is he in jail right now?
I believe he is. They did arrest and charge him with something. I know for a fact he was arrested. They did investigate him and arrest him, so he may or may not be in jail. I haven't recently done any research.
It's funny how some people defended that guy. Some people were defending
that is ridiculous.
No,
you
I'm serious.
That.
You know that.
He was just angry because his nephew got smacked around by a foreigner.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people were defending that type of behavior. It's like, come on, man. Like, that's not acceptable. That's illegal.
Family member. Yeah, that's a fighter.
They probably also defended Wilder attacking. Who was it? Who did he attack after a fight?
Brazil.
Yeah,
I think it was Dominic Brazil.
Yeah, it was Dominic Brazil's family. It's like, Jesus Christ, come on. Like, it's too much.
The funny part about that is Dominic Brazil could actually beat Wilder.
He could. What do you think about the Ortiz-Wilder fight? Can we talk about this, Mr. BDA?
Go ahead.
If Ortiz comes in good shape and he pressures effectively and he does what he's supposed to do, he should be able to relatively easily win that fight.
Now, his last 2 fights, he hasn't looked that impressive, Ortiz. His last fight, he fought a bomb, to be honest. He went like, 10 rounds or some shit? Yeah,
I think in his last fight, he went to the mid rounds, and then in his second to last fight, he went the distance because the guy
12, exactly.
Because the guy kept running like a little girl, and the dude was dropped twice. But
do you feel confident that Ortiz is gonna fall? Do you feel confident that Ortiz is gonna win? Are you confident?
Probably.
That Ortiz is gonna win? To me,
the thing is, PBC, they can find some kind of way to mess with you. I mean, we've seen guys go on PBC and they look nothing like we've ever seen them before. So you gotta actually make sure that this fight is really happening because they found a way to get around the Povetkin fight. So we gotta make sure that we don't get too excited before they find a way to get around this fight.
What do you mean? Like they're gonna Ortiz gonna test positive or something?
I don't know. It could be anything. You never know with Al Heyman.
Now we know what the plan is for Wilder and for Joshua.
Yeah, the plan.
Yeah, that's Wilder, the fight that they're planning.
Yeah, the plan is to get Wilder to beat somebody and get some kind of fame and names on his resume, so he can eventually just cash out for a big Joshua fight, and Joshua can just knock him out.
So you don't believe that there's any hope on Wilder to win? Like the PBC and Al Heyman, they know that Wilder's gonna lose that fight.
Maybe if he gets a lucky shot in. I mean, here's the thing with Gerald Washington. Gerald Washington dodged the last two punches, those last big two windmills that Deontay Wilder threw in the Washington fight. The Washington knockout was really a gift, in my opinion. Washington was easily able to continue in that fight. The referee just gifted Wilder with a knockout win.
Okay, reverse.
Yeah,
are you speaking through your phone right now?
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes it sounds like robotic, you know, like it's like the signal is breaking up.
Let me see something.
Okay, now I'm hearing background noise. Are you okay? Are you under assault right now?
Are you under attack?
I'm gonna
Do you need assistance?
I'm gonna go. No, there's a movie on. I'm gonna go
okay.
outside to see if it will stop cutting up.
Okay. I thought he was under assault and that he needed assistance or something.
No. Is it coming out clearly now?
Yeah.
All right.
So let's get back to business. Deontay Wilder. You know, we talked about it last week, that how he was getting outboxed by fucking Gerald Washington. But Luis Ortiz, is he, like, I've heard a lot of people saying that he's a bit of a hype job himself. That's what some people
it depends
think.
on how that age has affected him. I mean, we know a lot of these Cuban fighters are a lot older than they claim to be.
Yeah.
So with all this inactivity that Ortiz has had, along with the accusations of people saying he's at least 42 years old, maybe he could lose. Maybe his legs will be ineffective and his arms will be ineffective. Like, his power, you know, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think lacking in his last fight. Like, he didn't look as destructive of a puncher as he usually does.
Against a football player? The ex-football player?
No, he's talking about...
The last fight, not the second to last fight, the very last fight that he had in the
you're talking about Ortiz. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Wilder. Sorry.
Well, also what happened with Ortiz was that he had to go forward against what was his name again? His last fight. Malik Scott. I always forget his name. He had to go forward.
Malik Scott was his second. Malik Scott was his second to last fight, but then after that, he fought somebody in the UK.
Oh, okay, yeah, you mentioned that last week as well. Hold on, let me check just in case. But he is not comfortable. I'm talking Luis Ortiz. He's not comfortable going forward. But then that's the thing, Deontay Wilder. If he makes him go towards him, I know Deontay Wilder is not a master boxer. He doesn't have that real skills. But you never know. With his athleticism, he could give Ortiz some trouble. Yeah, you're right. Ortiz fought David Allen, who was 9-1-1 in Manchester, England, and he won by TKO. So yeah, he did have a fight after Malik Scott. It was a month later. But yeah, so what? Okay, so you guys, you tell me, does Deontay Wilder have a chance against Luis Ortiz with other?
Yeah, because Ortiz is old, man.
Yeah.
To me, he's fucking 50 years old. He's fucking 50 years old, man.
Unarguably, Wilder does bring a puncher's chance into every fight.
Yeah.
So if he can land that windmill right hand, he could win.
Let me tell you, this fight is gonna be the same type of fight as Wilder against Steve Byrd. He's gonna go 12 rounds, and Wilder's gonna win a decision. That's how I see it, man.
Huh.
I mean, but the thing is, Stavern, I mean, I don't know if you've heard about this or not. Stavern was almost dead when he fought Wilder. Like, he had a bad stomach illness.
Oh, fuck that. No, come on. Really?
I mean, it could be, right? It could be. You never know. But
okay.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, fuck. You never know. You never know.
When Wilder steps up in competition, his power fades away.
Exactly.
When he fought fucking Spilka, fuck, he was losing that fucking fight. He was losing.
He sure was.
He knocked him out because the guy launched in, he got too careless and he got dropped. And by the way, that guy is a small heavyweight. Spilka is a small heavyweight.
Wilder was way bigger than that guy.
Yeah, Ortiz is a big heavyweight. I'm telling you, he can take Wilder's punch. But he's gonna lose due to I believe that Wilder has a higher volume punch. He's gonna be just outboxed Ortiz based on the amount of punches he's gonna be throwing. That's it. It's going to a decision, and there's no way Wilder loses the decision, and that's it. It's going to be a boring fight, man.
You got enough light? It might be blood. Don't want to miss any.
I think somebody gets like that.
Who is ever excited for a Wilder fight?
No one. And it's funny how people were comparing Wilder to Golovkin. It's like, well, you people are excited about Golovkin because he knocks people out. Well, guess what? Wilder also knocks out people. Why are you people excited about Wilder? It's the different thing, man.
Triple G consistently knocks out people in his own division with more than one title belt outside of his home country and home state.
He has unified, exactly. Wilder hasn't unified shit.
Wilder has not even attempted to unify.
You want me to get excited for Wilder Areola? Wilder Duapa? Who the fuck was that guy? Seriously. Yeah, and the windmill? Have you seen the windmill? Jesus.
I've seen people making excuses for the guy he was going to fight before Washington. Remember, he had some fight that he was going to take with some Eastern European guy that Povetkin just crushed.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look it up. But yeah,
Wilder was getting fucking killed in sparring with David Haye. David Haye was fucking throwing the right hand all.
Yeah,
David
the same thing happened.
5 years ago would have fucking knocked out Wilder.
He sure would have. And here's the thing. I would notice this when I was fighting a Klitschko. So, I mean, when I was watching a Klitschko fight. So, Klitschko, he was fighting some black dude on HBO, and they mentioned how Klitschko was actually able to have Deontay Wilder as a sparring partner.
Right.
And Roy Jones said, if I was Deontay Wilder's manager, I wouldn't have sent him over there because I know he's eventually going to have to fight Klitschko. And I thought to myself, well, no, because I know he's never going to fight Klitschko. That's why they sent him over there.
Oh my god. Yeah, possibly.
You might as well get those sparring dollars because you're never going to get in the ring with Klitschko.
Very good point. Very good.
It's funny
point.
it's funny how few Anthony Joshua got to Klitschko even faster than Wilder.
He actually took the fight. Wilder,
he actually took the
always had that fight. I mean, one thing with Klitschko, with Vladimir Klitschko, that a lot of people don't really bring up is Klitschko during his reign as heavyweight, with all the holding and all the other stuff, he didn't really duck anybody. If you wanted to fight Klitschko, he'd probably give you the fight. Now, he might not really give you a fair fight, but he will get in the ring with you.
Yeah, he was a draw. It wasn't like you weren't going to make any money with Klitschko. I mean, there were so many reasons to fight Klitschko. There were so many reasons to fight Klitschko, man. Come on.
Yeah, Klitschko always had the very entertaining openings. I mean, his ring walks were the most entertaining parts of his fights.
It's true, man. And here's the thing. We got to remember, guys. Deontay Wilder is on the PBC plan, which is easy fights, a lot of money, no return when it comes to your legacy.
You fight some high-level foreign fighter, then you can just get laid out, and Al Heyman can collect.
Exactly. Uncle Al always wins at the end. The bank always wins at the end. And
I mean, he did it to J-Rock as well. I mean, Julian J-Rock Williams, he could have been really something as a junior middleweight champion, but instead, Al Heyman decided to feed him to the big old light heavyweight, maybe super middleweight Jamal Charlo and have him get knocked out.
Yeah, that was a weird one right there. But then again, J-Rock wanted it, right? He wanted that fight.
Yeah, he did want that fight because he had worked his way up through the IBF rankings and he became the mandatory.
Right.
I mean, now currently it's just disgusting because like Jarrett Hurd, that guy's like a cruiserweight running around at 154. I don't know how anybody's gonna beat him. I mean, in his last fight, that guy was just beating beating him to death. He just bop, bop, bop on his face, bop, bop, bop on his face. And then after the fight, after getting hit with all those punches, you look at Jarrett Hurd's face, he had not one scratch, not any swelling.
Yeah, it's a lot of people compare him to James Toney, and it's easy to look like James Toney when you have a weight advantage because you don't have to worry too much about what's coming back.
He looked nothing like James Toney. All he did was he would try to like do the Philly show, but he was stationary as he did it, so it was so easy for his opponent to just hit him and run around it. I mean, the thing with that type of Floyd Mayweather defense is that it's very overrated. A high-level fighter can easily get around that.
Yeah,
if you're not actually moving your head and doing it. If you want to actually use defense like that.
Well, here's the other thing that you need
for
that
is to watch somebody like Georgie Benton who can actually move and do it and do that type of block in the middle of the ring.
Exactly. The actual thing that's missing for a lot of these guys is that they need to have speed in order to do it. They need to have very sharp reflexes, and a lot of guys just don't have it. Floyd Mayweather was a special case because not only was he skilled, but he was also physically talented enough to be able to pull that off.
And plus, he had a very good chin. I mean, as much as I don't like Floyd, his chin is very underrated. He used to be able to take real big shots.
Yeah, earlier in his career also, he was when he was at the right weight. Because remember, this guy, I don't even know if he really belonged that. He jumped the gun a little bit.
Bullshit. Don't give me that bullshit.
No, okay, whatever. Anyway,
no, Floyd was never. Floyd fought nobody at 130. It was just pad fight after pad fight after pad fight.
Corrales was the only fight.
Well, Jesus Chavez was good too. And Angel Manfredi.
Are you serious, man?
Angel Manfredi. Jesus Chavez was earned his shot the right way, and Angel Manfredi was a good fighter too, and Floyd blew him out in 2 rounds.
Floyd fought at least, like, how many defenses did he make of that 130 title that he got from old Gennaro Hernandez?
Oh, come on. Anyway, I don't want to get into fucking Floyd Mayweather, because you know what?
What happened
after the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, they said, those guys are done.
Mayweather, he was a small welterweight or some bullshit.
No, he was not.
He was not.
I mean, Sugar Ray Robinson was the same size as him at middleweight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because Mayweather decided not to fight, not to stand in the ring. He decided to move, all around the ring. That's the only reason that. But he claims he was too small, but it's bullshit.
Yeah, he looked about the same weight against Canelo. Okay, guys, we can't talk at the same time, guys.
I mean, what people don't understand is Mayweather. He can be 155 and he can challenge for the middleweight world titles.
Guys, we can't talk at the same time. We gotta wait for a turn. All right, Reverse, you go ahead first. Sorry.
Oh, but yeah. Anyway, back to Wilder. Wilder, he may be able to win that fight. I mean, Ortiz is very old. We have to take that into account. He hasn't really had the best career. He hasn't been allowed all the chances that maybe he should have received. But yeah, it's not gonna be. If he does beat Ortiz, I mean, how much credit should he really get for that?
There's a reason why they're taking this fight right now. They saw something on with Ortiz, and that's why they're taking this fight.
I mean, they could have had Ortiz.
They could have fought Dylan White in the UK or something for money, But they don't want to do that. They want to take on Ortiz because they want to build up Wilder as like a guy. They want to build up his record. Like saying, whoa, see, you guys think Wilder is a piece of shit? Well, guess what? He just fought the boogeyman of the heavyweight division. So shut up now. And now Wilder is a big deal, and he's gonna fight Anthony Joshua. Come on, come watch this fucking fight. That's the only reason he's fighting. But they know that Ortiz is fucking done. They saw something, and I can see something also in Ortiz, man. This guy's fucking 50 years old.
Yeah, if you haven't watched his most recent fight, that fight in the UK, you really need to watch that because it's very telling.
Yeah, what? Yeah, he looks slow or what?
He did not look like the destroyer that he was when he used to fight on those HBO cards.
See, that's interesting right there. We gotta watch that fight.
And he was hit a couple times by the guy he fought in the UK. That was a very disappointing performance, in my opinion.
You think it might have something to do? Maybe it might have something to do with the opponent, like he couldn't get up for the opponent, or you really think now that he's losing it?
opponent was nothing. It's not. I mean, it's hard to say if he was losing it. Who knows? You know, it's a lot of, you know, as I talked about in my last video, there's a lot of variables to a fighter in what he looks like in different fights. There's his training camp, the time he spends training, his mental state.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could be the exact same guy, and he could go fight Wilder and have great power. There are some fighters who are like that, where they'll look great in one fight, and then they'll look like trash in their next fight, and they'll look great in the fight after that.
Yeah, yes.
So at this point, it's purely speculation from our standpoint. We haven't seen him in a recent camp. We haven't seen him, you know, I haven't seen what he visually looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess we wait and see, and that's even if the fight happens, the Wilder Ortiz fight.
Yeah. As I said before, they could find a way around that and just make it not happen, and then he'll just fight some, you know, another Amaro bum, and get some cheap little knockout from that, because that's all Al Heyman really has is Amaro bums and wasted potential.
Yeah, man. I've said it before. Deontay Wilder should be bigger than he is right now, even though he can't box all that well. But I mean, he's young. He's boisterous.
He's the American heavyweight champion with like an 80+ knockout percentage. If he was really doing anything, I mean, Mike Tyson was way bigger than him when he had less fights.
Exactly.
And Mike Tyson didn't even go to the Olympics. And if I could just touch on that for a moment, Wilder needs to stop celebrating the fact that he lost the silver medal bout. That's nothing to brag about.
It's true.
Okay, you should not celebrate a bronze medal. You're not special for getting that.
Yeah, and technically...
How did he even get to that point, though? I mean, what the fuck is that?
Well, that's the thing. Technically, you don't win a bronze medal. Technically, they call it medaling.
He was a big dude. He was just a big dude. If you're big enough and you compete in boxing, yeah, you can win a couple fights. There's only so much, especially at the amateur level. You got
exactly.
It's going to be very hard for me to land any shots to your head to actually knock you out when you're big.
Yeah.
Wait,
Wilder's 6'7". It's gonna be at the amateur level, and I've seen Wilder get knocked out in an amateur fight before. You can find it online.
Yeah.
I see Anthony Joshua knocking the fuck out of that guy, man.
Yeah, very possible, right there. Very possible. Deontay Wilder, like you said, once he fights a guy, who's the tallest guy he's fought so far? That matched his size.
I think Gerald Washington was his biggest opponent.
Yeah, but he didn't have the skills to really be able to touch Deontay Wilder really, really clean.
I mean, he might have been able to actually beat Wilder had he actually done what he's supposed to do. I mean, we, as fans, we know, and here's something I've learned from watching boxing. I can know what a guy's supposed to do, and I can say it, and I can comment about it, but sometimes people are just going to do what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about that in the video I'm trying to upload. Roman Gonzalez, he could have beat Rungvisai again, really, but he didn't do what he was supposed to do, and that's why he got knocked out.
Yeah, you're right. You can see the patterns as a boxing fan. I mean, we can't do it, but we can tell. It's just like when somebody throws a jab. Yeah, you can tell who's not doing it properly after watching so much boxing. And like you said, Gerald Washington, he had a good game. He was executing part of the game plan, but when it came to the offense, he wasn't getting it done.
Constantly just touching. Like, I don't know if you remember this. He would just like tap Wilder on his chin, like just tap him there constantly. Just tap, 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 and Wilder sitting there with his hands all slouched down. I mean, Wilder, there's no way in anybody's imagination that he will ever beat somebody like Anthony Joshua, or that he would have ever beat Klitschko. I mean, you could bring Vitaly Klitschko out of his government office and put him in a ring with Wilder. He would still win.
Yeah, I agree, man, but it's just that fucking power he has, though. You never know with it, though.
I mean, you just got to keep your hands up and watch for that. He telegraphs it like... And I saw one comment that says Wilder's trying to hit Joshua with the right hand in the UK all the way from the US.
Meaning what?
meaning that he's trying to load up on his punch so far that it goes across the Atlantic Ocean and actually hits Joshua somehow.
I mean, look, don't you agree though that a guy like Anthony Joshua, all he has to do is take away the right hand and it's over?
Yeah, I mean, it's relatively easy to take away. Szpilka got knocked out because he was trying to be all cool and act like he was in the Matrix, and then the right hand caught him and he was knocked out. If he had not done all that Matrix junk, he could have, the knockout possibly could have came for him. I mean, and I said this to, like, I don't know if you guys know this channel, Max Robert.
What's his name?
I do.
Max Robert. He said he was showing how biased the scorecards can be towards PBC fighters and to Deontay Wilder. And he asked a question at the end. He said, would you send your fighter here? And I said, yeah, because if you can beat Wilder, knocking him out is almost unavoidable. People forget the fight he had with that one guy. Who was the guy that Anthony Joshua knocked out in his second title defense?
Molina?
Charles Martin, no?
No, he fought Charles Martin for the belt. He fought Dominic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Molina. It was Molina.
Yeah.
Wilder was knocked and smacked all over the ring by Molina.
He got
It was a tough fight. It was a tough fight.
Yeah, it was a really tough fight. Look what Joshua did to him. He easily, he easily knocked him out, 3 rounds it took him? 3, 4?
Yeah, something in that vicinity. Something like that, yeah. Wait, who's eating chips? King Butch, are you eating chips?
Oh, you can hear me? Fuck, sorry, man.
How disrespectful.
Pringles.
Almost as disrespectful as Deontay Wilder's attitude after he knocked somebody out.
Yeah, what the fuck is that about, man?
I know that little dancing. You don't need to be dancing and doing your little twirls after you knocked out a bum.
Exactly. What the fuck?
I mean, he got frustrated and he got his eye pretty much swollen shut by a guy who only knew how to throw a jab. It was Duhaupas. Duhaupas just kept throwing a jab. That's all he was throwing, and it was landing constantly right on Wilder's eye, and it made his eye swell up, and it shut pretty much all the way, and the doctors never looked at it.
Yeah,
I mean, if that was the other way around, they would have stopped it. They would have said, "Oh, your eye's shut. You can't continue anymore. We're gonna have to stop it."
Oh, you better believe
Wilder,
it.
when it was happening to him, they never even looked at it.
And that's fucking dangerous, because that could end you. Like, let's say it was a serious injury, it could have ended Wilder's career.
I know, but Al Heyman, he's not concerned about your long-term career. He's concerned about what you can do for him at this current moment at time, or what potential he sees of making from you.
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you talk about Al Heyman, though, because he might be listening.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. You gotta say allegedly, too. You gotta cover your ass there, man. Okay, so fuck, there's a fight. What time is a cruiserweight fight today? It's in the US, right? It's taking place in the US.
I wouldn't know. I'm more concerned about the Linares card.
Ah, yes. Talk about that if you want.
That Jorge Linares is probably one of the top 5 underrated fighters in boxing right now.
Do you have him in your top 10 pound-for-pound list?
Yeah, I mean, Errol Spence should not be on the pound-for-pound list. He's had one world-level fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Rigondeaux shouldn't be there. Rigondeaux has done nothing to earn any pound-for-pound
status.
status.
Fucking agree. You can't live off of one fight. You can't live off of one fight.
Here's the thing with that: beating Donaire isn't even that special. Donaire got knocked out by Nicholas Walters.
Yeah.
How much credit do you
I guess people are gonna say that Rigondeaux destroyed, like, mentally or whatever, Donaire. That's why he's losing all the time now.
And he didn't, because Donaire is still fighting. I think Donaire is actually fighting today.
Oh, fuck, is he?
Yeah, I think he's fighting for the silver belt.
God. Okay, featherweight.
It's either featherweight or super bantamweight. I'm not sure.
I hope it's super bantamweight, because this guy's not a featherweight. When he fought at featherweight, he was all chubby and shit. He didn't look. He's not a featherweight. And
yeah, he was really like a weight bully at 115. He was like a
but that was his ideal weight. As he moved up, he started losing his power. And
yeah, he was also getting older.
True, and in those weight divisions, I mean, you don't last very long.
You can, but it depends. I mean, Donaire, he went from using his mind to actually trying to land the left hook. That's all he did versus Rigondeaux. He just go for the left hook, and he still got it in there. It was a little.
Yeah, he dropped them at some.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a real left hook. That was just a little like finger
that's why,
slap.
Yeah, that's why. I don't know. Correct.
Yeah, that's why when he fights Lomachenko is just gonna splatter him all over the canvas.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna ask you, what do you think about that? Because in my opinion, Lomachenko's gonna stop him, and that fight's happening at 130. Junior lightweight. There's no fucking way.
The thing is, Rigo is gonna be so messed up because Rigondeaux has wasted his career. Rigondeaux is a very talented fighter. He is. He's got the skill. He's got the speed. He's got the power. If he actually did something with that at super bantamweight, he could have been successful, but he didn't. And the reason he did that was because he was just trying to campaign for the Lomachenko rematch and cash out on that.
Or some other fight. He was just in it for the money. Let's be honest.
Rigondeaux, everybody can pretty much knock him out. Gary Russell Jr. would knock him out. Carl Frampton would knock him out. Leo Santa Cruz would knock him out. He's not beating anybody. He is a hype job to the maximum.
I think Mares would have fucked him up.
Abner Mares, yeah. And I don't have a high opinion of Abner Mares.
Me neither, man.
And I actually, on my Facebook group, I put up this picture where Al Bernstein had his keys to victory, and for one of Abner Mares' fights, he put "go to the body legally."
What's up with Al Bernstein and Mares? He fucking really hates the guy.
I mean, I don't like Abner Mares either. Abner Mares, you know about the fight where he just low blow the guy.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
Some people still are not over that. They think that's disgraceful, and plus he priced himself out of the Leo Santa Cruz rematch.
I'm sure he did.
I don't even.
Where's the PBC money at, though? Where's the PBC money to pay for that fight?
No, it's drifting away, man.
Tell me, man.
It's nowhere. Al Heyman wasted too much. Al Heyman wasted too many dollars paying people to fight the Rod Salkas of the world, and now he's got to pay them even less for them to actually fight each other.
I want my fucking money!
And you're not gonna get it.
No. No, it's funny how fucking Al Heyman can even fucking provide us with this featherweight fight. Santa Cruz Mares 2. Just give it to us. You have all this money. Where is it?
Well, you actually want to see that fight?
You can't fucking... What?
You actually want to see that fight, Mares Santa Cruz 2?
I'm not crazy about that fight.
No, I'm really, but just make it.
Mares looked like nothing versus Quasar. I mean, Quasar got knocked out by 5'1" Oscar Escandón.
5'1", it's true, man.
The guy that Gary Russell Jr. just fought as his mandatory knocked out Jesus Quasar.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
No, but no, it's not a fight I'm excited about, Santa Cruz Mares 2, but it's a fight like, well, I'm gonna get it. Then all of a sudden I hear that the Mares overpriced himself. I'm like, well, how did he overprice himself? Where's the money at? How much is he asking for? I mean, is he asking for 10 million or something? Give me a break.
It's the same thing when Jacobs was gonna fight Triple G. We had to wait longer for that fight. That fight should have happened in December, and it shouldn't have been on pay-per-view. But Daniel Jacobs had to just demand, and so we didn't get that fight when we wanted to. So eventually Triple G just...
Yeah, well, that was the... Fans hyped up that fight. Fans went on, Jacobs is all of a sudden the boogeyman of the division. He's just destroyed Quillen, who's a piece of shit. Where the fuck is Peter Quillen? Okay, let's not even talk about that.
Peter Quillen, in case you don't know, Peter Quillen, he just fought he just fought an 8-rounder that went to decision at light heavyweight versus a guy with like what
20 losses or something. 10 losses. Yeah.
He went the dick with that guy.
Yeah, that just takes away a lot of the credit for the Jacobs win.
Yeah,
I mean the Jacobs win wasn't even a real win. If that is a knockout, then Triple G, he should have a lot of earlier knockouts than that.
Imagine Golovkin with the PBC if he would have been with them since 2012.
I mean, it's probably better than when he was with Universum. They were basically PBCing him.
Let me tell you something. If Golovkin would have been with the PBC in 2012, he would have had 3-4 fights since then. Maybe a little more.
Probably
maybe
so.
2 more. Nah, the PBC wouldn't have gotten him any fights.
No, of course not.
No.
They don't know how to create boxers.
Yeah, they don't know how to develop.
They can't create. They only corrupt what's already been created.
They think that the Mayweather blueprint is the only way to make a fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the blueprint for Mayweather?
I pad your record with a bunch of bombs, and I hype you up, tell everybody you're the greatest thing since Sugar Ray Leonard, and then, you know, I just move you through the divisions. I keep you.
Danny Garcia comes to mind.
Yeah, that's who a lot of people said Floyd was gonna fight if he ever came back, was Danny Garcia.
Remember that? It would have been even more boring than the fucking Thurman Garcia fight.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it's true. I forgot about that. They wanted to make Mayweather Garcia. Holy shit! How boring would that have? Garcia was so over fucking hyped, man. This guy's so flat-footed, man. He didn't do shit against Thurman.
He got his nose busted by
Herrera.
And people who say Danny Garcia won that fight make me sick. Mauricio Herrera just.
I don't think that anybody said that.
No, people say Danny Garcia beat Mauricio Herrera.
I can believe
Nah,
Oh,
he knew he lost that fight. And the Puerto Ricans in the crowd knew it.
Fan base. I think even Puerto Ricans hate that guy, man. He has no fucking fan base.
He has the Philly. That's where he is, right? Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a little like sub fan base over there.
And it's small too, huh?
I know, it's like Deontay Wilder's Alabama fan base.
Oh man.
I gotta tell you, I wonder how these guys would look if they were with proper management or a proper promotional company. I think they'd be a little bigger than they are right now, man. No doubt about it.
I mean, the only thing is that if they signed with somebody like Bob Arum, they wouldn't be happy. Because Bob Arum is not going to pad your records. He's going to give you the hard fight when he thinks you should get it because he's trying to actually create a profit.
Yeah, yeah.
I bet you many of these PBC fighters envy top-ranked fighters fighting on ESPN.
They probably do.
Wouldn't you want to fight on ESPN?
Yeah, that's like the best.
Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that boxing hasn't been on there, and that when they do put boxing on there, they delay it. Like the Valdez fight was delayed.
Yeah.
I mean, if Bob Arum is gonna buy a 10 o'clock spot, you're supposed to give it to him. I mean, you're really gonna make the man have his main event at midnight, but you're gonna push it back.
Oh, and then they switch channels too.
Yeah, they switch channels. They do all that dumb stuff. I mean, for a baseball game, boxing doesn't come on that often. You should show it some appreciation. That way, you could have that, and you could maybe bring boxing back a little bit. I mean, they had such a big setback with that Manny Pacquiao robbery, and it's gonna be hard for them to recover from that.
Yeah, man, and fucking Pacquiao doesn't even want the rematch.
No, why should he? He won. There's no reason. I'm supposed to fight you. I'm supposed to fight you again, even though I know I beat you. There's no point in doing that. I'm old. I already won 8 world titles. There's no point in me winning a ninth world title.
Exactly. I mean, he's got nothing to prove. You.
What?
I said he's got nothing to prove, Pacquiao. Like he got a shitty decision, but he doesn't have any. You know, if he doesn't want to, we all know that in his prime, a 2009 Pacquiao runs through Jeff Horn. So, really, what's the incentive of going back down to Australia and getting into a rematch? Okay, he wins. So what? Like he gets a couple more million. Nah, I think.
It's a money fight.
It's a money fight, exactly. It's just a money fight to pad his already big bank account. I don't know. I think reverse. We're gonna do this for a couple of more minutes. Anything you want? First of all, your YouTube channel. How about you plug that? Don't you have a YouTube channel or somewhere where you're gonna put your videos?
No, the video that I made today is the very first YouTube video I ever made. It's like 24 minutes long.
Oh Jesus! And they still haven't approved it, you said?
No, I think it just uploaded, so the upload is complete.
Okay, well,
it
tell
uploaded
us.
while we were talking.
Is
it public already?
Yeah, let me see if I can get to it.
Yeah, and then tell us what it is so people can check it out.
Yeah. A lot of shit has been thrown at fucking Chocolatito. Yeah, it's disgusting. They're comparing Chocolatito to Adrian Broner. Like, are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious?
I know, and here's the thing. Since when did losing once mean you got exposed? I mean, did people say that when Sugar Ray Leonard lost to Duran? Oh, he was exposed.
Probably.
Imagine if everybody like that. I mean, I guess Muhammad Ali, when he went and he fought that English dude, and that English dude knocked him right on his back, he got exposed. He was just a hype job.
Well, it's like Split D said, if the internet would have been around back in those days, there would have been people saying, oh, Sugar Ray Leonard sucks, he couldn't get it done against Duran, oh, he was getting outboxed by Tommy Hearns. You know, it's the internet, man. That's the problem, is that everybody has an opinion and they can just type it in and then it's gospel.
And then another thing adding on to that is that people don't have their own opinion, and they have so much easy access to somebody else's opinion that they just make that theirs.
Exactly. Okay, so do you have your website? I mean, your YouTube channel. Do you have the name for it?
Yeah, it's just you just click on my. You just look up Reverse Lee. The name of the video is Why Chocolatito Gonzalez Was Stopped by Sister Ket Sorong Vasai.
Okay, that's a pretty straightforward title. Very good. And it's 24 minutes, so you guys out there, if you see the video, you search for it and you see the 24 minutes, that's the one you gotta click.
Yeah, let me see if I can share the link in the comment section.
Ah, yes, that would be fantastic.
I'll post it on Twitter, man.
I'll do both.
There you go.
Right, yeah. I'll retweet it. I want to see that shit, because it's disgusting, man. It's really disgusting. These people knew nothing about Chocolatito before he was on HBO.
I know, and the thing is, people do not understand this, and this is a very big thing. This does not mean Rung Rasai won the first fight.
Yeah, exactly. They forget about the first. It's a bit of like a Kovalev or like Jose Luis Castillo against Mayweather. It's like, yes, Mayweather won the second fight, but he lost the first fight. They forget about the first fight. He lost the first fight, man. It's fucking, it's disgusting that Jose Luis Castillo will never get the credit for that win.
Absolutely. It's the second, a rematch doesn't erase what happened.
Chocolatito won the first fight against Rungvisai. He lost the second fight, okay. Jesus Christ, he's not a fucking bomb. He's not fucking Adrian Broner.
And in the beginning, I say this isn't an excuse video. He lost fair and square. He lost. Yeah. It's not my fault, and that's the thing. I do have somewhat of an emotional attachment to Roman Gonzalez because he's my favorite fighter. You know, he's a short guy like me. But I'm not gonna sit here and say you won when I know you. I'm not gonna make excuses for why you lost. You lose, you lose. That's not my problem. I'm not trying to live vicariously through another man. That's not my job.
But you disagree that he's being treated the way he's being treated now by some people.
Yeah, he hasn't been. He's being treated terribly. Even HBO, they're treating him terribly.
Did I just hear you say that you're bi-curious?
What? No, I say I'm not bi-curious. I said other people. What a lot of people try to do is bi-curiously live their lives through these fighters, and that's why they constantly make excuses for them.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. So I didn't know that. So Roman Gonzalez is one of your favorite fighters. I mean, who isn't a fan of the guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, what is there not to like? I mean, people. I mean, one of the guys who is the biggest perpetrators of this is 78 Sports. Oh, I watched his video. People said that he lost to Pacquiao's cousin. He's not even from the same country as Pacquiao.
Well, and they blame and they call racism the whole time. They just racism here, racism there, and they're the fucking race. They're racist.
I know.
Because you know why they're racist? Because they see racism in everything. That's when you're racist. If you see boxing as just two guys fighting, yeah, then you're not racist. But if you see, oh, this is a black guy fighting a Hispanic, oh, it's a Asian fighting, then you're a fucking racist because that's what you're looking at.
I don't have a problem with that whole nationality thing and trying to promote that as part of the fight, But I mean, because Mexicans do that, Puerto Ricans do that. That's something that has made boxing in those countries. You know,
Absolutely.
The Philippines, they'll often promote it as, you know, Filipinos versus the world, Filipino versus Mexican. But the thing is, with the community like the LDBC, all they want is black fighters, and if you don't win, they will shame you, like they did with Timothy Bradley. Like Timothy Bradley.
It's about black people. It's not about nationality.
The black boxing community should love Timothy Bradley, but they know he lost to Pacquiao, so he can't be good.
They exile people when they want to. You know, they will support a guy from Africa, even though he's not American. So, which is it racial or is it nationality? Like, they're completely confused. They're confused.
It's a skin color thing. Like Rigo. Rigo is not black, and I always
exactly. That's a good example.
If you walk up to Regan Dow, you cannot have a conversation with him. So really, how do you see him as being one of you?
Exactly. My God, it's really pathetic.
But yeah, Roman Gonzalez, he's done tons of things throughout his career. I mean, really, if he beat all those guys at 115, who's to say his resume isn't better than Floyd's?
Exactly,
I mean,
man.
imagine if Roman Gonzalez beat Cuadras, Inoue, Roman Gonzalez, and Estrada.
Yo, that.
I mean, he already beat Cuadras and Rungvisai, and people need to stop saying that Cuadras beat him. Cuadras did not beat him.
Well, you know what? That's people are gonna go into two extremes, man. Like, oh, it's a close fight. The guy that you're rooting for clearly got robbed. That's how people react, man. That's how it is. Fuck. Anyway, Reverse, you made some very fucking good points today, as always. Always entertaining, always insightful. Thank you for joining us, man. I think we're gonna end this now because we gotta allow people a little time to decompress before the fights. Just plug your channel again so that people know where to check out that video of yours.
Oh, it's just Reverse Spacely.
Okay,
just
so
look
that's
that up.
That's it.
You should get it.
Yeah, and the video
I'm
is
gonna post it
24
on
minutes.
Twitter. I'm gonna find it and post it on Twitter.
Go ahead, King Bucho.
Let me wait a minute. Let me send it to you on Twitter right now.
Okay.
Well, there you go. I also want to thank Split D for having joined us earlier. Also, a terrific what's the word I'm looking for? Broadcaster, yeah, because everyone's broadcasting here. Very good points all around. I also want to thank King Bucho for having joined us after... What were you doing, King Bucho? You were getting a tan or something?
Pedicure.
A pedicure? Okay, that's...
Pedicure.
That's not,
no, it's the
right.
fucking fake beach.
The fake beach,
just
yes.
got home. Yeah.
Well,
you know, Canada, we don't have fucking beaches, man. It's like a fucking lake.
The fake
with sand.
beach.
I call it a fake beach, but it was fucking hard. We have a fucking a heat wave going here, so might as well go.
That's right, a heat wave. And like I said, I want to thank everybody that joined us. I want to thank everybody that joined us on the chat room as well. Covert Operative, Marvin Mantis, of course, Canelo, give me my rematch. Always good comments, always funny comments as well.
He changed it from give me my fight to give me my rematch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, he's got a point, man. I also want to thank Hamed for having joined us briefly also on the chat. Too bad he couldn't join us today. Same thing with Hassan. He couldn't join us. Victor Atkinson. I don't know where those guys were, but, join us next time. You guys are always welcome. Everybody else on the chat room, too. You got to step into the arena at some point and join us via Google Hangouts, man. It's not all that complicated. You create an account if you don't have one. Send us a message, and we patch you through. Simple as that. What the hell? Who's got a dildo again? On the...
No, it's my phone vibrating.
Oh, it's your phone. Okay, it's your phone. I said it's your phone.
Because you just retweeted the video I sent you.
That's great. Fantastic. That's King Bucho's doing, by the way. He's the one that runs the whole...
Oh, that's King Bucho. Alright.
Yeah, he's the one that runs the whole operation. I'm just like the middleman or the figurehead. If something goes wrong, I'm going to take the blame and he gets off scot-free. That's how it works.
Exactly.
Alright, so guys, thank you for joining us. We're going to do another one of these next week. King Bucho wants to do one impromptu during the week, so you never know if we're going to pop in and do one of these during the week. You know, if you want to come in.
I'll host it, I guess.
Yeah, King Bucho. Well, I'll step in and join too, you know, if I have the time.
Okay.
And we are going to be making, you know, people want us to make some Rigonda Lomachenko videos. We're going to make some of those as well. The fight is coming up.
Yeah. Your fight analysis of Golovkin Canelo?
What about it?
You're going to make it, right?
Oh, but that is if they don't pull if HBO doesn't pull the video, by the way.
I don't think they will, man.
Well, did you see the people that have made Golovkin Canelo videos? They blur the HBO logo and they speed it up. They speed up the...
Yeah, that's what Warriors does whenever he makes the punch count. He just blurs the channel, the network logo.
And that seems to work, right?
Try that.
Yeah, it's risky, but you know what? At BDA here, we take risks all the time. We go in without the condom on, and we just dive in. So we'll see what we do there.
We go raw.
We go raw, that's right. All right, so guys, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it may not be the safest thing, but it feels good.
Yes. Exactly, that's what it's all about, man.
Fuck me up the ass.
All right, anyway, guys. Guys, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the fights. I think they're going to be great. Cruiserweight fight between Kudryashov and Dorticos, and also Jorge Linares, the golden boy, trying to leave his mark in boxing. This was, again, the Boxing Debate Arena, a live panel. Thank you for joining us. I'm talking way too much, but I'm stalling. There we go, the music. Thank you for joining us, guys. We'll see you on the next one. See you, man.
Have a great night.
You too, man.
Good question, Mars. That's a good question, Mars.
How many fucking keys? You cocksucker, what the fuck?
I'll write it and we'll do it live.